who would actually answer my first question. Was I depressed?
Please give me the wine.
Well...
What is that? Like, this sister.
Okay, now.
Forgive me.
Yes, you were, because you mentioned some of the symptoms of depression.
Okay.
You know, like saying that you didn't want to be with anybody.
Okay, let me introduce you first. This is Pamela Udoka. She's a trained clinical psychologist, and she's here with us today to educate us about the difference between what we call in Nigeria sadness and depression, which can actually be a clinical condition.
Where did you find Pamela? You guys, I mean...
We exist, though. Clinical psychologists exist. They don't just look for us, but we are here. At least you can see me live. I'm here.
And you're needed desperately.
Yes. Yeah, so I imagine. Yeah, but it's real. It's real. We are here.
So what do you think? What do you think? You think I was depressed?
Well, I mean, the good thing about some of us is that we just assume things. I just believe that if somebody has been sad, you don't know what the person is being sad about, and you say, get out of it. You know what I mean? So I think maybe it's a consistent sadness.
Yes.
What do you think?
Know?
I think there's a loneliness that is attached to being depressed. I say that because I'm given to melancholy.
Sean, it's like having a headache. You know, you have a headache. You have to now know which one is it, a migraine headache, is it tension headache, and stuff like that. But the bottom line is I have a headache. Depression is a perpetual state of sadness for a long period of time. So you were near it.
1 day, 2 days.
No.
Exactly.
For a long time, maybe 3 months, 6 months. You know, it has to be.
So I can't be depressed in 1 month if I'm just sad all day, 31 days in the month.
If you're all sad, you know, apart from the sadness,
yes,
then you don't, the things that used to give you pleasure, you lose interest in them.
Okay.
Like maybe you're a party person and they say, okay, auntie is having maybe a 50th birthday party, or maybe there's a celebration going on, you're not interested in it. They'll be like, what's that? And it does not mean that if you say you're not going for a party, just one of this, depression. No. You know, it's like you lose interest. Everything that used to give you joy, excitement, happiness, you lose interest in them. And then you now have this feeling of hopelessness or worthlessness. You amount to nothing, the future is bleak, you know, and then you have a poor sleep pattern. So all these are symptoms of depression.
Are there different types? You know, like you said with the headache, there's a migraine, there's a tension headache. Are there different types of depression?
Yes.
Because you have like women who've had babies and
that's postpartum.
Yes,
that's postpartum depression. You know, after delivery, you're just like, what have I just done? What's this? Who's this one? I have to be responsible for another person. So, I mean, some of us can cope with that. And then it triggers.
Is it every woman that kills her child that is depressed? Because people can hide under anything. Is it every child? Does that mean that she's... I just want to know.
That's why there's assessment.
Okay.
Because it's been reported that most women that do that have postpartum. So not everybody said. That's why you have assessment for each case. You don't just generalize. Even like she was talking about different types of depression. You know, we have depression in stages. We have the mild, we have the moderate, and we have the severe depression. That's why you can see somebody just being sad, just being depressed, and he's not thinking about suicide. He doesn't have suicide ideation. Or
it looks to me like if someone wants to say something.
I've been looking and thinking and saying to myself that, you know how we are, stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
Like, you can be depressed, but you force yourself to do things.
That's
person.
There's something we call...
can be depressed, and yet you force yourself to do things. For example, you know you have to go to work, so you'll get... There's a discipline that you have, which forces you, you socialize, and people look at you, which is why I think... You see people, I say, but they didn't look as if there was anything wrong, and then they've thrown themselves out of the window.
Yes. Now, there's something we call smiling depression. Oh. That's what you're trying to describe now. You put up a facade.
That's your own term?
Yeah. No, it's a real term. It's a medical term. It's psychological.
Smiling depression.
Yeah, smiling. You know, you're going through like hell inside, but you're like...
But that makes it very dangerous, doesn't it?
Yes, that is why, you know. So, and then you are in denial of what you're going through. And then because you have tried to talk to somebody and the person does not believe what you're going through, or they tell you snap out of it, or tell you go and pray about it, you're like, let me just stay with this.
I was coming to that. That whole go and pray about it thing that we do in Nigeria. Is that,
we don't
is
get
that reasonable?
It's
prayer work, though.
No, prayer works.
It's a condition.
Prayer works, but it's not everything. You know, you don't use a spiritual solution for a physical problem, a problem that you can just solve using therapy. Then you now sit down and praying about it. You can pray that your therapy works. You can pray that the medication works. Yeah, but you don't pray off treatment for the issue.
I have a point of view,
yeah,
and that is that a lot of depression stems from a spiritual emptiness.
Thank you.
No,
Because
when you say
So yes, I'm
Yeah,
saying a lot
anchor.
because when I think about these things and I look at people and listen to people, it's as if there's a sense of a lack of purpose.
Is that the hopelessness?
That drives, that unworthiness, a lack of purpose. Because if you have, the Nigerian expression, if you're up and doing, if you're up and doing, there's no, it's as if there's, yes, you're feeling sad, but you're occupying your time.
When you
with
occupy
something.
your time, when you have depression,
Yes.
it's something we call burnout. At the end of the day, you will break down.
So you have to treat this.
I was
have to
actually very
treat it.
busy. I was running 2 businesses at the time, so that didn't work. I was
Yes.
very busy. I was having to do social events with the smile on my face.
Yes.
And I did try to commit suicide.
Yeah,
So
it's just
how
I've
does
gone
it-
to.
how-
Yes, I took
how
a
do
whole
you now
bottle
get
of
to the point?
paracetamol.
No.
No,
Paracetamol,
but you know
yeah.
when you talk about
How do you get to the point that you now know? How do you ever know?
How do you know that it's
How do you ever
depression?
know?
Yes.
You won't know you might not know it's depression. You might not have a name for it, but you will know that something is wrong with
Quite right.
you. Are not sleeping well. Either you are sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Either you're eating too much or you're eating too little. That we call poor eating habits or poor sleep pattern. Or you withdraw from everybody. Or you just feel that, what's the need? Why do I need to wake up tomorrow morning? That's why I start thinking about
So
the
you think
suicide.
people have different coping mechanisms.
No,
that
you have to
employ
devise.
before-
Yes, you have to devise
get
coping
treatment.
mechanisms when you are feeling that way. When you feel.
When you say you have to, is it that you as a doctor, you advise that they do, or people just naturally devise?
No, you have to. If, for instance,
because mine was alcohol, like I said.
yes,
but that's
some
not a good coping
No,
device.
some people
An escape.
get
Yes, an escape.
when you find some escape can be positive or negative. You can get into positive escape, get into drugs.
Like dancing. Okay.
Dancing is a positive one.
yes.
That is changing your lifestyle.
Charity. Get into charity.
Yeah, changing your
to the gym,
lifestyle.
exercise.
You want to go to the gym, you want to socialize with people. Yeah, you make a conscious effort to change your lifestyle. I want to go to, instead of staying alone. I know that I keep thinking about it.
Though, if we did share some, because I know, for example, now in recent times, I find that I just don't want to dress up to go out. It's not because I am.
not depression.
I'm not, because I know.
So you wish to- you
No,
say
no,
depression.
but
Maybe she has mild depression.
Yes, yes, yes. Because let me tell you why. I tend to think about.
going out. I'm not doing
No, that's
It
different.
depends on what's going on.
That's different.
If you are doing something that is different from what you used
to do, exactly.
That what I would gladly just dress up and go out. I just don't care. I don't care about those. And I'm beginning to
not
think that maybe it's menopause.
Remember the day I saw you in church? And I said, I don't know.
I don't care. I look like
no makeup at all.
nothing. They're just like, so I
And
just
she was
realized
very
that,
flat. Just-
you know,
that's mild
No.
depression.
If it's consistent, I mean, you might just wake up one morning and say, okay,
if I have
I
to do
don't.
that every day, so watch out.
For 3
Eh,
months.
eh.
If you guys see me doing it for 3 months, please take me to
Yes. Yeah, you did.
Because she's-
But
we
yes,
see
if you
her
wake
about
up in the
breast
morning,
after.
sometimes you
Sure,
just
that
wake
will
up.
thank you.
I don't feel like making up. Don't feel like just. That's one of that's
a sign.
normal.
It's
It's not a sign. It's not a sign.
can
But
we-
if you wake up every day, and they say, okay, this one, I saw you last week like this. I've seen you today. I've seen you like this for a month. What's going on? You yourself, because it now becomes a problem for your family, your friends. They notice that something is wrong.
So you say we
But
can
why don't we
investigate.
notice before people kill themselves?
Because we don't know the symptoms of what to look out for.
In saying that, it was in the news recently that a young child, a teenager, took his life in
Yes,
school.
because we don't expect that we have what we call childhood
there are
depression.
signs.
Yes, that was my next
There was
question. You say
signs.
there's signs. So are your parents, friends, family supposed to investigate signs of just
They are
I'm
supposed
sad?
to be more observant. That's why we have family
each other.
support. Yes. If I'm related, you are my friend, I should be able to notice that, what happened to you? Why are you not? I know. What,
Because
that's why,
Nigerians don't like talking. We don't like
No,
telling,
we
sharing
observe-
things with people.
because we're in denial.
I think
Or
we're
maybe when you
ignorant.
even talk, a person will
We're
not believe
ignorant.
you.
What do you mean by when
We're
you say we're ignorant? What do you mean?
We don't acknowledge the fact of depression in
Okay.
many ways. And so you're not looking out for the signs of something you don't even acknowledge. So, which is the reason I've been saying for a long time that we need a lot of psychiatrists. and
psychologists.
They have to seek us out. Visible.
Do we have a local
am
name
here.
for it? Do we have a local name
That's
for
interesting,
depression?
though.
For depression.
We have a local name. I think it's just that we just think, what is in that one? That their word
Now,
is
winch.
Now, winch is
your word is complete. So you can be feeling
Yes,
sad.
it's the
When
village
you are
people.
hungry, you will not be feeling sad. You will know you have to get up and go and look for something. And I'm being very serious about this because the truth is, a lot of people are depressed in this country.
Yes.
But we're not calling it depression because we don't acknowledge it. And even the person who is depressed denies that they have a right to be depressed.
Okay.
And will say, no, but...
It's
but
not
God
me.
has
It's
given
not
me
me,
this.
oh.
No,
Can't
God
put
has given me this. I have a job. I have a this. So why should I be? And then you get up and you do it. And I think it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get to the end of the road.
Yes.
And there's nowhere else to go.
And the suicide
Yes.
is when you have gone to the
the end
last
of the road.
stage
I
of
was going to
depression.
say that because now there's an unspoken, it's not a law, but an unspoken law in Lagos that if you find someone at the side of the bridge and looks like he's going to jump, the police should arrest him. So, you see, take for instance, I'm depressed and I'm about to commit suicide, and then the police will fall upon you and lock you up, they'll lock you down. Isn't that making it worse?
It's making it worse. And to start, it's not only jumping off the bridge that people use to commit suicide. Though. Taking medication, overdosing on something.
Yes.
Rat poison, everything.
Rat poison.
Yes.
I read somewhere that this depression thing can be hereditary.
Yes. You know, yes. When we do assessments.
I'm happy and
yes.
everything is going fine, and the next thing.
Yes. That's
It's not
when
my
we do
fault.
assessment.
What
One of the questions we ask is, do you have a history, not of depression, of mental health illness in your family?
know.
You will know.
How?
Most people will know.
When
For
they end up
instance,
in Aru.
no.
So I can just be happy-go-lucky,
But
and
that is the
because
extreme
my
one.
forefathers
Yes,
have
but
it.
But it's
Yes.
possible that your grandmother
Yes.
was depressed.
Yes.
And she just, there were times when she didn't like to see anybody and she didn't do anything and just said, that woman, she's just angry.
Just
with
leave
me.
them,
Your
yes.
grandfather would say
So
she's
they
just
wouldn't
angry.
Yes.
have known that was
They
what
won't
it
know the
was.
word for it, but they know that family, they have scoring, they have something in that family.
You see,
they
you
would
just
know.
called- you just
yes.
called it a name.
Name.
It's a slang.
Yes, it's your person.
Is it a behavior? Or
sorry,
is
what's
it
that
a
slang?
mental?
It's a mood.
a chemical imbalance.
Yes.
It can be. When it's hereditary, then it runs in the family, then it's genetic, then it's,
Chemical in the brain.
yes, hormonal imbalance or something. That's when you need medication to adjust that, not just psychotherapy.
correct it.
Yes,
Psychotherapy,
yes.
okay.
And then most people, when they now start taking medication, which clinical psychologists don't give medication, we just do talk therapy. The psychiatrists give medication. Most of the medication they take have side effects. And you find out that,
Hold on.
sorry.
We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. So you were telling us that, people refer to it as all sorts of things.
Yes.
And it's something
I
that
think
can
you
be
took it
treated.
from the scoring.
Yes.
The scoring.
But it's not
I've
scoring.
never heard- what's it called?
It's like a local...
Mental health disorder.
We say killy
But it's derogatory
mental
now.
health.
It's derogatory.
Mental health
I
disorder.
won't talk to you if you tell me I have scoring.
If you can use words like scoring and
Killy,
killy,
killy.
why will anybody say they are sad?
Exactly. I will just keep quiet.
Killy means that there's small something.
Some the knot is loose. And it's not only for depression.
Sorry?
That's coin or clinically whatever can just refer to mental health disorder. Okay? Not necessarily depression, because we have other mental health issues.
No, but
Even-
can depression get to that level? It's not
yes,
treated.
yes. You can get to that level and it becomes you have manic depressive. That's why you now have to give depressive medication. Okay?
I have this friend. I used to say to him, he was bipolar.
Yes.
I read up because he could be ecstatic one moment and so happy and everything. And then the
It
next
drops. It drops.
3 days, he would just
Yes.
be really sad.
Is that
Then
depression?
suddenly,
Bipolar. It's also a mood disorder. Depression is a mood disorder. Bipolar is a mood disorder. It's a mood
You're
disorder.
using these names sometimes. Some of us do. We
And
don't know this.
schizophrenia.
No, schizophrenia is not mood. It's a mental disorder. It's like when you have distortions. You have distortions. Maybe hallucinations. You have delusions of thoughts of perception. You perceive things differently from
and you
the
move
norm.
from depression to schizophrenia.
Then you're having comorbid mental health. You're having.
No, but
things.
I think
It's
the
possible.
question here is that a lot of this is happening more in our society. We're just not giving it the right names. Because even in my own family, I have those issues. I mean, my mother, having experienced a marriage that wasn't the best there was, right, was never really happy, right? But by the time we all left home and mom was alone with dad, and I know many families that this happens, dad wasn't getting the kind of attention that he wanted. He couldn't really go around like he did. My father is passed now, God rest his soul. But what he did was that my mom wasn't giving him as much attention. He didn't understand. And she began to say, why are you bothering me? She was totally depressed. She was going to, she was even at the point of where she was telling my father, if you come near me, I'm going to kill you. That's when we knew there was a problem. And we sought help. Do you understand what I
Do
mean?
you get, like...
Of course, we got the help. Went to psychiatrist and helped her, but that's only to manage the situation.
Okay, so what are
but
these
the
causes?
deep-seated resentments
Yes,
that you have in your system is enough to turn you into a depressive person.
So hers was resentment. What other things can cause depression?
resentment.
No, I just want to also talk about, she said it's rampant. Is it rampant now, or are we just more aware now?
You see,
have we always had it?
Social media has made a lot of things to come to the fore. We have always had
That's
this
positive.
issue, but now there are issues going on, situations going on in the country that can make people get into depression. Okay? There is always a trigger. You can't just wake up and be depressed. Something caused it.
How
Okay?
is social media going to trigger this?
No one saying making you aware.
Making us
You are more aware. Yes, or made known that this kind of
What are
thing
the examples
exists.
of triggers? She
Causes.
said resentment, deep-seated resentment, yes.
Something
What
also
else?
causes resentment. You don't just resent someone. Something has caused it.
Okay.
Yes, that's
The
something.
guy was
The
messing
trigger.
around and
Okay.
didn't like it. That's all.
Yes, if you're in an abusive
Abuse, yes.
relationship, for instance, it can trigger depression. You can't help yourself. You just feel, why am I in this relationship? Why am I in this marriage, for instance? So you can just feel, let me go end it all. A depressed person just wants to end everything and stop the suffering. Some of them escape into substance abuse, just to escape, just to find that, they have a euphoria that, okay, I'm not going through what I'm...
So like this codeine use now, this codeine has been banned
That's,
now.
that's another thing.
What
But
if a child, you know, now
was just
you
gonna
hear
say,
children are committing suicide, children are being treated for depression. What do they,
bullying.
what
the
is
thing-
it?
yes,
Yeah,
what-
bullying,
eh,
exactly.
That's what we're talking about, the family support. When you observe, you know your child. Your child now comes back from school, and instead of wanting to play or wanting to watch cartoon, wanting to go to the playing ground, goes to his room or her room and sits down. A child that used to read maybe storybooks doesn't want to read anything. You know, how are you? The child is withdrawn, we call it withdrawn to self, withdrawn to his or herself. You will know something is wrong because in school, either like you mentioned, bullying, or maybe then you ask some parents don't even go for parents-teachers meeting or something. They don't even go for the class thing that you talk to your teacher. So you won't know when the child is dropping in
What kind of things
grades.
can a child say to alert you to the fact that the
Exactly.
child is depressed?
Nobody loves me. I'm not needed in this house.
We've always said that for years.
Why
Why is it now you are killing
my
yourself
mom
because of
was
that?
scared now.
That's all talking about individual differences.
Oh, right.
Yes. I might say something like that. Mommy, you don't even love me. Just because maybe she bought sweet for the other child for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. But when the child keeps saying it persistently,
Oh, okay.
you understand? Nobody loves me here. I'm not needed here. Let me just go and kill myself.
But I
Some people say, some people don't, but you have to observe because the mood, how does your mood affect your behavior?
You're saying-
How does your mood affect your
I was going
relationship?
to say that I think that there's something that's happening in the middle class, in middle class families.
Okay.
There's a lot of depression, and I think
There's no middle class again in Nigeria.
Well, the little that is left.
Yes, I think that the middle class is providing too much for their children. And so the children don't grow up with that gut instinct to survive and to
coping
achieve
mechanism.
something. No, there has to be something in you that's pushing you to do something.
Okay.
And if you provide everything for a child, again, let me use that word, you socialize the child out of survival.
Yes.
So that in a world, no matter how comfortable you are in this world, you have to survive something. Because there are different people around who are not like you.
Yes.
So you have to survive the world in which you live. And if you socialize a child out of that survival instinct, which is what I think the middle class are doing.
So if you're pushing them too much, you're saying it could bounce,
I
you have
think
an
you're-
adverse
you're
effect.
not allowing them
Okay.
to fall down and dust themselves up and
Get
get
up
up.
again. Okay.
You're doing everything for them. So what are they looking forward to doing? What is their ambition in life? To fill their time. They're going to be depressed and to do something about that depression, they have the money to go into drugs. And they have the phones to do social media. It's an addiction. Social media is an addiction.
And there's also this poor communication pattern in families. A mother or father cannot even discuss with the child. The child cannot talk to the parents freely. So even when the child is going through certain things, the child cannot tell the parents.
That didn't start today. In
Yeah.
fact,
in
it's
our
even now that children are saying what they
So
like.
we have to change the narrative so the children can talk to us,
because,
tell us things.
I have always said that there's different parenting styles
There
for
is, there
different
is.
ages.
There is.
And if you don't recognize when your child is signaling to you that I'm growing up and I have an opinion, you lose it.
At what age do you think
For me, my
switch?
son, my
Yes.
son indicated to me, because he'd be calling me from school and saying, "So, Mom, what's going on?" I'd be thinking, what's going on? Please. You know. However, I recognized that was what he was doing. He was trying to tell me that I'm getting to be an adult, 13. You know, I'm asking what's going on. So I responded,
So the
and because of that,
teenage
my
years.
younger son didn't have to do that. I recognized when that was coming, when he started having an
Was
opinion.
it same with you as well?
Well, what I do know, what you're talking about is I think it's important at this point to also share again, because it's like, I mean, I have a bit of experience in this area. Now, I've raised, by the time my number 5 child, I think, yes, my number 5 child, 4 children had gone to school abroad. Then the 5th one went to school abroad, and he suffered depression. You know why? Because we found out that his vitamin D levels were very low.
Oh, okay.
Vitamin D, now, when he did the test, because, I mean, why did I find out? Because I called him. And he says, "Look, Mama, I want to come home." I say, "Why? Where are you?" He said, "I am tired. I don't want to do this anymore." I said, "What is it? Where are you?" "I'm in front of the pond." "What are you trying to do?" But I mean, of course. I said, "Okay, you know what you need to do? You must go to see
Yes.
a psychiatrist, because it's available in school." Now, this child goes, they do a test, they find out that actually his vitamin D levels were so low. It should be somewhere, the minimum he should have is 30, and this guy had 6. All the other children probably did, but it's because it was winter. But they survived.
No sun.
You know what I mean? But he couldn't survive because his personality is different. So he suffered depression, but I wouldn't have known if I didn't catch that. But parents must realize, because we send our children abroad because there was no opportunity for them. We don't want children to go to school and be truncated. What the former said about the middle classes it's
Serious.
important.
Yes.
Most of our children who are going abroad, they are going to come back, they must have suffered some form of depression or the other. Because this guy's level, they increased the vitamin D intake, did everything, and all of that. But depression set in. So if parents don't get involved and talk to their children, you're going to have a handful. It was a tough thing for us as a family.
Yeah.
But we thank God that we had the information.
I think that because the middle class is pampered,
They're pampered,
it's
yes.
a bit more difficult. It's like when I was talking about when you're depressed and you're hungry and their children. No, their children. You see, sometimes it doesn't click in because the hunger makes you look for the food, so you put the depression to one side. But you see,
And remember it after you have eaten.
honestly, because I think
you happy,
No,
sir.
the person
you
who
think-
is
let- let-
going
let-
through
let-
that is not depressed.
maybe there is mild depression.
Yeah, because
Maybe it's
The
mild.
person is just hungry.
I don't think
that's
it's frustrated, it's just sad. You can't just
Hunger
snap.
can cause depression. The inability to provide for yourself, the inability
Yes.
can make you depressed.
Yes.
And there's a lot of that now.
That
Yes.
is
Are we interchanging depression
Pressure for
with
frustration.
It's a link. It causes depression.
It can lead to depression.
How did you survive, Dion? I wonder.
Yes.
I had 2 sessions. I couldn't afford it. People can be pricey. This man, the clinical psychologist, well, he taught me how to. The major thing that I was battling with was the feelings of being abused, taken advantage of. So I was angry. So he taught me how to turn that anger and throw it away. He said to me, I think he used the mild hypnosis. He said, close your eyes and think about the worst experience with your abuser. And then he said, my face contorted. And then he said, now wrap it up, put it in your hands and wrap it up into a ball. And he said, my hands clenched. And he said, now think of it as a ball of fire. And I did this straight away. He said, that's how you get rid of it. You can't hold on to something, to your pain. So you have to let it go. So every time that happens, think about it as a ball of fire
I
and
like
let
that
go.
every time
so
that happens.
yes,
Doesn't mean
so
that it's finished.
it helped. No, so it helped me.
You know-
so every time I had to deal with that, I did that exercise.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
and
a therapeutic technique. We call
Yes.
rational emotive therapy.
See, that's
We
in
have
English.
yes.
Name.
We also have what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. You see, when you have a mood disorder, you have what we call cognitive distortions. You start saying things. Magnify them. By generalization, we have a lot of things like you start seeing things in black or white. If I couldn't achieve this, then I'm a bad person. You don't have any middle ground. If I was good enough, he wouldn't have left me. You know, you don't say, maybe I'm too good for him. That's why he left me. You don't think that way. You always have negative thoughts. There's no positivity.
So we can't do mind over matter.
Yes.
And be trained in
Yes.
how to do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is the
Coping.
lounge. You know, if we keep going, we can keep going.
Don't tell me 30 minutes is off.
It is off already. So,
Let's have our one-liners.
we will, what can we do?
Exactly.
To
All of us. What can
all of us
everybody do?
collectively.
One-liners.
Yes.
One liner.
Maybe she should have the last word. Let's
Yes.
all ask you, what's your last one?
I don't know about depression. I just like to be happy all the time.
I changed my lifestyle. I just do differently. I think differently and do differently. That works for me.
I think keeping busy, you know, sort of helps people. Just not thinking of, because keeping busy is better than taking
Just
drugs and
yes.
drinking and all of that. You keep busy.
Well, I just say nothing lasts forever. I'm sad today, I'll be happy tomorrow.
One of the things that we should do when we think we are getting into that situation is to talk to the right person, okay? And what us that we are being spoken to, we should not be judgmental. Don't say, this person got over it. Now, this is a small thing that you cannot get over. No. Listen. Yes. Have
Depression
empathy.
is real,
Yes.
And we have to deal with it,
Yes.
but collectively.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. It was nice having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
What a beautiful lounge you
I
have here.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much. Thanks for having me.
Sadness, melancholy, being hungry, and being depressed. It's a collective responsibility for us to identify it, talk about it, and get rid of it. Because it's happening more and more now. Thank you for joining us in the lounge.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
And a warm good evening and welcome. I'm Emmanuel Ulububuko and this is News Now. President Tinubu has ordered the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) to sell crude oil to Dangote Refinery in Naira. Zak Adedeji, Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, stated this today at the Federal Executive Council in Abuja. The development is coming amid a dispute between the 650,000 barrel per day Dangote Refinery and also NNPCL, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, and other regulators in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. According to Adedeji, this will ensure the stability of the pump price of refined fuel and the dollar-naira exchange rate.
Our solution today, we are not doing anything new. Today, that's what I said. The current scenario is that Dangote and NNPC are in transaction. But what do? Dangote will open letter of credit just to procure crude oil from NNPC. And NNPC will also open letter of credit to purchase PMS or refinery refined product from Dangote Refinery. And both of them, NNPC will sell in Naira. This is mismatch. And you know dollar is not our currency. So when you open letter of credit, apart from finance fee that you pay to all these foreign banks that you need to go to foreign market. It's like me and my brother want to transact here in Nigeria and we open bank account in New York. I will go and look for dollar to pay to New York bank. My brother will go and look for dollar to pay to New York bank for the product that we exchange at our backyard. So Mr. President says this is not economical.
Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed the 70,000 Naira new minimum wage bill into law following our disagreements between the government, private sector and the organized labor. The tripartite committee submitted two figures to the President, with the government and private sector offering 60,000 Naira and organized labor demanding 250,000 Naira. Tinubu later agreed to pay 70,000 Naira from the initial offer of 60,000 Naira. The Federal Executive Council meeting took place at the State House in Abuja. Now, the National Assembly in Nigeria will hold an emergency plenary on Wednesday, July the 4th, 2024, to address critical matters requiring immediate legislative attention. The House of Representatives announced the appointment, stating that honorable members have now been summoned from their constituencies to attend the crucial session. The House has commenced its annual recess, allowing for in-depth engagement at the grassroots and a deep understanding of constituents' needs and priorities. Now, the Senate will also convene an emergency plenary session with the President of the Senate, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, directing the session to be held by noon on Wednesday.
Use this opportunity to call on those who are attempting to foment trouble, that you have a right to protest. It's your fundamental right. It is there in the Constitution, but you don't have a right to destabilize the country. The right to protest should not be turned into a right to unleash violence. It's very clear that people who are it's already very amorphous, very faceless. So what it means is that people are preparing to loot and go around and do all sorts of things. Where we are today was not caused by 1 year's administration. It is the outcome of years of insecurity. Many people could not go to farms for almost 10 years and all that, and the president has risen to the occasion. Every food item that is coming in now will come in without anything like a restriction. There's no restriction. Bring in food because Nigerians need to eat. And then at the same time, most things are coming in with a lot of waivers. So for me, I'm excited that, yes, indeed, the government is doing what it should. And we, the leaders in the National Assembly, we are touching our various constituencies.
The Northwest Caucus in the House of Representatives has urged Northern youth to avoid a nationwide protest from August the 1st to 10th. They also praised President Tinubu for his support for the North and West Development Commission bill. The caucus leader, Nbisada Soli, emphasized that peaceful and law-abiding citizens should give governments more time to address issues and find lasting solutions.
And equity would make policy decisions that will bring development to our states by rescuing them from the evils of banditry and cross-border terrorism. This commission is therefore a tremendous boost to the valiant efforts of governance of the Northwest Geopolitical Zone, and it has further justified our trust in President Tinubu's commitment to help revamp this geopolitical zone and place it on a sound pedestal. We must, however, appeal to the President to intensify efforts in addressing the security challenges still prevalent in the geopolitical zones, particularly in other parts of the country at large. A broader security sector reform will enable our people to return to their normal lives, leading to positive changes in economic development and social order.
The caucus praised President Bola Tinubu for signing the Northwest Development Commission bill aiming to accelerate economic and social development in the geopolitical zone and restore parity to the people who have now been subjected to violence and banditry for years.
I think there is going to be some changes that will ensure transparency in deciding the duty of this Northwest Development Commission. And that is the reason during the speech by our leader, he said that they are appealing to the President and those concerned. People that will be saddled with the responsibility of challenging the appeals of this Northwest Development Commission should be people of integrity, and they should be people that they have the zone and the country at heart. So I think there is no cause for alarm. And even that of the Southwest Development Commission, South Development Commission, is normal, but when Aswaji came on board, he's trying to see that there is transparency and accountability in all the sectors.
The Chairman House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise, Honorable Leke Joseph Akpejide, says Nigeria is on the path towards sustainable development, economic growth and improved quality of life for all citizens. Akpejide said this while addressing journalists on the need to rally behind President Bola Tinubu's transformative stride, of which the lawmaker, a member of the African Democratic Congress, distanced themselves from the position of the national chairman of the party. Chief Ralph Wosu represented regarding the planned protest. Instead, he called for patience from Nigerians.
Indeed, share some of these sentiments. I share it. I must firmly oppose such action at this crucial juncture in our nation's journey. I don't know the gain we are going to get from it. You will see, even the little you have, God forbid, if they go out for protests, it's going to lead to chaos. Because you know now there are two sides. Some youth are saying they want, some are not. When the one they say they want comes out, those ones that say they don't want will come out against them. Then you and I, we are not going to escape it. We cannot deny that our country faces significant challenges. The cost of living has risen, yes. And many Nigerians are struggling to make ends meet, yes. These are real issues that require our collective attention and effort. However, it is precisely because of these challenges that we must rally behind an administration that has shown remarkable courage and vision in tackling our long-standing problems head-on. Governors, what are they doing with this bill to give you electricity in your states? We are all facing the federal government. And this government is not talking, this I can say. They just increased, about some few months ago, electricity bill was increased to 268 per kilowatt. After some time, when there was noise everywhere, this government, be a listening government, reduced it to 68 naira per kilowatt. But people are not aware. Electricity, you know that 206 for band A is 68 naira per kilowatt. Go and check. These are not distant dreams but tangible realities and the ongoing projects under President Bola Tinubu's administration. If such transformative changes can be achieved in just over a year in office, then it is clear that Nigeria is on the path towards sustainable development, economic growth, and improved quality of life for all citizens. Ask your government.
The United States, United Kingdom and Canada have issued security alerts to citizens in Nigeria regarding the potential for violence during the planned nationwide protests against hunger and hardship from August 1st, 2024. The warnings outline the potential for roadblocks, checkpoints, traffic congestion and physical confrontations. The U.S. mission in Abuja advised Americans to avoid rallies, avoid large crowds and also stay informed through local media. The UK High Commission has also warned that the protests could occur between July 29th and August 10th in major cities like Abuja and Lagos. The Canadian government warned citizens about disruptions in traffic and public transportation and warned of potential violence. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Metokur, has now directed police top brass to protect intending participants of the planned #End by the governance protest slated for August 1st to 10th, 2024. This was contained in a letter by the IGP to the request of human rights lawyer Bolu Adegburua. The Adegburua Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN, had on July 26, 2024 written the IGP to provide police coverage for protesters. The senior lawyer had written the IGP on behalf of the Take It Back movement, one of the groups planning the End Bad Governance protest in August. The IGP, in his response letter today, directed senior police officers to attend to the request of the senior lawyer. The IGP also requested to have a meeting with Adegburua in Abuja on Tuesday, July the 30th, 2024, to deliberate further on his request. The protest against economic hardship, which is gaining traction on social media, has now been scheduled to be held across all states at the Federation as well as the nation's capital in August. Prices of food and basic commodities have now gone through the roof in the last months as Nigerians battle one of the country's worst inflation rates, an economic crisis backed by the government's twin policies of petrol subsidy removal and unification of forex windows. Now, Niger State youth have stormed the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway to protest the country's rising cost of living and the removal of fuel subsidy. They chanted anti-government songs and displayed placards with messages like "Fuel subsidy must be back," "Stop anti-masses policies," "Enough is enough," "We are not slaves in our country," and "Hardship is unbearable." The protest comes 3 days ahead of the scheduled start date for a nationwide strike on August the 1st, which has seen the government and stakeholders plead for calm and patience. The Amagbayi Peace Movement has now advised Nigerian youth to consider participating in the #End Bad Governance protest scheduled for August 1st, 2024. During a solidarity visit from youth in oil-bearing communities, Amagbayi warned that the protest could be exploited by destabilize the country. The Amagbayi expressed concerns about potential hijacking of the protest by terrorist groups, which could lead to significant destruction and violence. He urged the youth to pursue dialogue with the government, instead emphasizing the importance of using peaceful and constructive methods to address grievances rather than engaging in protests that might be used for ulterior motives. The former freedom fighter praised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for addressing Nigeria's economic challenges and initiating palliative measures, including distributing essential food items across the country. However, the Lagos Indigenous Youth Network has vowed to
the rail lines, the lag ride, grants to business owners through the Ministry of Wealth Creation, LSTEF, the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, and the civic engagement. This is a government that deserves our support to do more, rather than falling victim of lies of naysayers. The government knows there's so much work to be done, and it is doing extra work to tick all of the boxes. We must work together as Lagosians. That is our spirit, and that is why we are gathered here today. We appeal to those sponsoring the protest to have a rethink. Lagos is working, and we are with our dear president.
As the Speaker of Lagos State Youth Parliament, it is my duty to make sure that the voices of the youth is not just heard, but also acted upon. In this respect, I am saying that I am not against peaceful protest. But what I am against is violent protest, which brings nothing to the table but destruction, loss of life, and injuries. We have individuals like Gandhi of India, Desmond Tutu, and even the well-known Nelson Mandela, who engaged in peaceful protest and are able to achieve what they wanted. So please, youth of Lagos, I am calling on you. Do not let ourselves to be used by people who do not even know. Let's uphold the integrity of our dear state, Lagos State.
The Zamfara Indigenes Enlightenment Forum has now withdrawn from a planned nationwide protest in Nigeria due to concerns about direction and potential anarchy. The group, which has been calling for peaceful protests against alleged bad governance and hardship, has been urged by traditional religious leaders and youth groups to delay the protest and allow President Bola Tinubu's administration more time to execute its people-oriented programs. The group urges other youth to join the protest and calls for the government to alleviate the suffering of the masses.
In the last few weeks, some Nigerians have been advocating for peaceful protest as a means of expressing dissatisfactions with government economic policies, unemployment, and the impoverishment of the majority of Nigerians. However, after exhaustive deliberations and consultations on the planned nationwide protest with various stakeholders, the Zamfara Indigenous Enlightenment Forum, ZEF, has decided to withdraw from the upcoming national protests for the overall interest of Zamfara State. It has become evident that the national protests lack the necessary structures and organizational framework required to ensure a coordinated, peaceful process. Without a clear leadership hierarchy and operational plan, the protest risk descending into disarray, which could undermine its intended objectives and lead to violence.
Issa Aremu, Director General of the Michael Imodu National Institute for Labour Studies, has now warned Nigerian youth against the planned protest with no clear agenda. Aremu emphasized the need for an inclusive national dialogue to address economic challenges, not protests without a clear agenda. They encouraged aggrieved individuals to emulate the Labour model of engagement.
I think our advice is that what we need now is all-inclusive national dialogue on how to address the current challenges facing the economy, not protests without leaders. I think we should avoid the pitfalls, the dangers of leaderless protesting. Then we also see where leaderless protests are destroying some African countries. Aggrieved groups in the society should emulate the Labour model of engagement. And what is the Labour model? We know who leads the Nigeria Labour Congress, we know their neck, and we know when they take their decisions, they make them known. That's the model that we know in a democracy. But leaderless protests, people you don't know who they are responsible to, you don't even know their demand. Normally, such protests lead to anarchy.
He warns our Nigerians that protests are meant to influence policies, not to change the government.
Should be to influence policy, to change, not to change government, not to change regime, because there are rules of engagement. You know, nobody should represent us without the mandate of the citizens.
Now we are Lakim Fahal, guest speaker at a seminar, emphasized the importance of learning from the International Labour Organization's tripartite structure, social advocacy and consensus building processes as a model for global development.
If we work around the ILO model, we might have a better life. In other words, democratic rights, human rights can be achieved better under the model of the ILO.
Moving on, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, has rejected the Senate's proposed bill to create a local government independent electoral commission, calling it ill-conceived. The council also called for the amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Act to empower INEC to conduct all local government polls. IPAC Chairman Yusuf Dantaliya stated that the die is cast for the Edo State governorship election, that there is no substitute for a free, fair, credible, transparent, inclusive and peaceful poll.
IPAC commend the recent financial autonomy granted to the 774 local governments in Nigeria following the landmark judgment of the Supreme Court. It will go a long way in transforming the nation and providing basic social amenities to citizens at the third tier of government. To further deepen democracy at the grassroots level, IPAC demands the immediate scrapping of State Independent Electoral Commission. The charade called election, the conduct is an aberration, a dent and mockery of our emerging democracy. IPAC called for the amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Act to empower INEC to conduct all local government polls. Council rejects the proposed bill by the Senate to create the so-called Local Government Independent Electoral Commission, bearing in mind that it will be another SIEC in disguise. It is unacceptable, it is ill-conceived, another electoral jamboree that will impede the nation's democracy and waste public funds at a time when citizens demand a smaller government to reduce the cost of governance at all levels.
Earlier, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, urged political parties and their candidates for the Edo and Ondo governorship elections to adhere to the rules while expressing concern about their acrimony and tension characterizing the campaigns with just 53 days left until Edo State election.
The final register for the 2024 governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states are being finalized. Before the end of this week, the Commission will publish the final figures of new voters in the two states, as well as their distribution by gender, age, occupation, and disability. Thereafter, the timetable for the collection of uncollected PVCs from previous registration and new registrants from the latest CVR will be published. 14 political parties have uploaded the details of 38,354 polling agents and 819 collection agents for the Edo State governorship election. 3 parties are yet to upload a single polling agent, while 5 parties have not uploaded a single agent for ward, local government, or state collection centers. The deadline is tomorrow, Tuesday, 30th July 2024, when the portal automatically shuts down at midnight. I urge you to ensure that you meet the deadline so that the Commission can produce the accreditation tags and deliver them to you for distribution to your agents in good time.
Now, in a groundbreaking collaboration, the Taraba State Government and the Nigerian Army have united to combat climate change and address pressing environmental issues by promoting a healthy ecosystem through large-scale tree planting initiatives. This partnership aims to enhance environmental conservation, protection management, resuscitation, and also rehabilitation across the state, a critical step following years of environmental degradation. Notably, this marks the first time the Taraba State Government has fostered a civil-military relationship with a focus on environmental conservation. Our correspondent Judnu Ogundale filed in this report.
Taraba State, like other regions in Nigeria, faces a range of climate change challenges, including flooding, soil erosion, pollution, deforestation, desert encroachment, drought, and illegal mining activities. In response, the state government has launched the Greening Taraba initiative, which aims to plant 5 million trees across the state. Brigadier General Kingsley Uwa, the 6th Brigade Commander and Commander Sector 3 Operation Wellstroke, expressed the Nigerian Army's commitment to supporting this initiative and addressing the humanitarian and environmental concerns that threaten the local ecosystem.
Our environment has experienced the adverse effects of global warming and other extreme climate changes, such as drought, effects of rainfall, and extreme temperatures, among others. These effects have negatively affected both humans and animals and have also contributed to some disasters such as flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, heat waves, wildfires, and pollution. Today, 6th Brigade is joining the good people of the state to key into the laudable initiative to green our environment through this symbolic tree planting campaign.
Governor Abu Kafis, represented at the occasion, reiterated his administration's dedication to tackling climate change challenges through proactive actions to ensure justice.
Through the Greening Taraba initiative, we are committed to protect and sustain our environment. Today, we are going to embark on this tree planting. I urge every organization to embark on massive and aggressive tree planting in Taraba State, because we cannot survive without the environment.
The state government plans to plant 5 million tree seedlings across its 16 local government areas. Chairman of ALGAN in the state assured that this planting effort will be sustained in order to exceed this initial target, given the severe impact of climate change being felt across the state.
I want to assure you, sir, that all the 16 local government chairmen are working assiduously to ensure that tree planting campaign is done in all the local government in collaboration with Ministry of Environment.
The government has pledged to continue the Greening Taraba initiative until positive results are achieved, restoring the state to its former status as nature's gift to the nation.
Now, on day 2 of the 2024 Global Tech Africa Conference, Lagos has sparked underscored the importance of understanding and harnessing the potential of artificial intelligence to drive economic growth across various sectors in Africa. Love Oyedokun reports.
The African Technology Conference brought together technology enthusiasts from across the continent to explore the latest advancements and trends. Dynamic discussions and networking sessions connected attendees with thought leaders, industry experts, and innovators. Speakers delved into transformative technologies, including artificial intelligence, blockchain, cybersecurity, and fintech innovations.
The entire world is going IP. Either you like it or not, wherever you are on your phone, you want to go on 5G, you want to go on 3G, you want to go on 2G, you want to go on 4G. You want to consume your comedies, your music on the go, which shows that the technology is converging, and this is made possible because of the IP technology.
Field data, soil data, which when combined with satellite imaging, you can use machine learning to process that and provide tailored recommendations, what inputs the farmer should use, what quantity, the variable application rates, so that when you put all that together, combined with crop health information, you can optimize crop yield.
Julie LaBlanche, a representative of the U.S. Consulate in Nigeria, led the Digital Transformation with Africa initiative. According to her, the initiative aims to expand digital literacy access across the continent with a focus on developing human capital.
Is that the U.S. Department of Commerce helps bring U.S. tech companies to navigate and work here in Nigeria and partner with Nigerian companies. So this creates employment, this works on digital skilling, and this really improves the infrastructure for the tech scene here in Nigeria.
The annual Global Tech Africa GTA conference convenes key players in Africa's thriving tech ecosystem to explore ways of harnessing technology for the continent's growth and development.
So the good thing about all these softwares right now today, software has made work very easy for us. It has made us more efficient and made us very productive. Okay, as long as you have an active LinkedIn profile, all this information you can derive from that profile, from your LinkedIn profile.
You look at everything going on around us now. We know that it's a smart world, it's a smart life that we're living, and technology is quite important for that, because with tech we can get a lot of things done.
Right now I have like 5 people working for me in different capacities, so it has definitely found a way to create more jobs. It has definitely found a way to even create multiple sources of income for different people. it has done a lot of good for the economy.
I remember years ago when I needed to send internet, I had to go to cyber cafe or there was a company that I was using, I think called Nova. I had to go to their office in order to send emails. Now it's getting closer and closer to us. We are seeing education technology solutions that are homegrown, that are designed. Especially in education, I don't talk about things I don't know much about, but in education we've seen solutions around our curriculum, around the way we teach, around the way we learn, and we are seeing that it's growing.
The theme of the 2024 GTA conference is Global Collaborations, Local Transformations. Love Oyedeokun, Plus TV News.
Now, in a bid to provide trauma care and psychological support to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence in the Catholic community, International Lot, in collaboration with the Ministry of Human Services and the Social Development, has trained community first responders, security agencies, safe space facilitators, the State Human Rights Commission and community leaders. The training now focuses on psychosocial first aid skills to support survivors in the Juji and also Maraban-Rido communities of Chekan-Lokugame area. Esther Luamidari, the training facilitator, stresses the importance of more agencies, organizations and individuals receiving psychological first aid training.
Not equipped with the right skill to provide the care needs of the survivors. This training aims to bring the network of first responders together so that when there's an event of SGBV, collectively and within the referral pathways, survivors get the required services that they need within the referral pathways, ensuring that survivors are not exposed to further harm. Because when a case is reported and it goes to the wrong person, for instance, it jeopardizes justice, it jeopardizes the mental health also of the survivors. So this training is bringing all stakeholders together to ensure that we have a uniform referral pathways, collecting data, ensuring that even while we collect information from survivors, we respect their right to privacy, we enhance their dignity as well as their safety.
Participants said the training was highly relevant and expanded their ability to offer professional PFA support to SGBV survivors without causing undue distress.
More people should hear and know how to administer psychological first aid, especially for sexual and gender-based violence survivors. These survivors go through a lot of trauma, and if their first meeting point, wherever it is, they render or administer psychological first aid to them, then the beginning of their healing has started. So I feel like more agencies, more organizations, more people should be equipped with the skills for psychological first aid. And it is important to also put them stable to be able to access other helps. And from that point, know what other helps that will be important for them.
Plans on how to, in case anything should administer the psychological first aid. It's not something that only trained personnel can do, even us too. Even be it not in the hospital, I can administer it anyway. Maybe the place is secured, safer for the survivor.
So I'm very happy because I'm in this training. It helped me a lot. Back to my community, I will do step-down training for the down ones to know the importance of breaking silence. If they see anything, they talk. If they have any problem, they should report. So
now, go on a quick commercial break, and when we return, the news continues.
Welcome to Bayes University, Abuja, Nigeria, with a legacy of excellence and a vision for nurturing future leaders. Bayes University is in a league of its own. We're all about our people, processes, and technology.
Bayes is one of the highly rated universities in Nigeria in terms of product quality standards.
We don't just produce graduates, but groom people into employers of labor.
And it has made us understand that learning is all about three things:
We learn, we unlearn, and we relearn.
Bayes University Hospital offers a range of specialized services equipped with the latest technology, manned by a team of trusted professionals. And now, our vision extends beyond our walls with the Baba Ahmed University in Kano following our lead. Join us at Bayes University and invest in your future today.
Bayes University is the institution that you will get the best value for money education in Nigeria.
Bayes University. Learn to live.
Sometimes it's not just the distance we travel, it's the gaps we close. It's not the things we buy, it's the memories we create. Sometimes it's beyond the places we go, it's the connections we make. Not just the things we taste, it's the taste of things to come. And it's never a question of if, but when. Because life is always just a bit better with American Express. Introducing the Access Bank American Express Gold Card and the Metal Platinum Card, now available through Access Bank.
And now to other parts of Africa, stampede at a music concert in Kinshasa, Congo resulted in the death of 7 people and injured many more. Now, the event took place at the 80,000 capacity Matai Stadium, where popular Congolese gospel singer Mike Kalumbai was performing. Now, the chaos erupted when security services tried to neutralize troublemakers, as according to the local music management company that organized the event. Now, an estimated 30,000 people attended the concert, which featured all the musicians and pastors. Videos from the scene showed large crowds gathered outside the stadium, waiting to enter, and people rushing to the center stage. Congo has now experienced similar stampedes in the past, often attributed to poor crowd control measures. Now, a Libyan court sentenced 12 officials to up to 27 years in prison for the involvement in the collapse of 2 dams that caused a massive flood in the coastal city of Derna. Now, the dams built in the 1970s were meant to protect the city from flash floods, but were not maintained for decades despite warnings. The dams now inundated in a quarter of the city, destroying entire neighborhoods and causing thousands of deaths. The Derna Criminal Court convicted the defendants of mismanagement, negligence and mistakes that contributed to the disaster. Now, the verdict now could be appealed before higher courts. The country has now been in chaos since 2011 when a NATO-backed uprising ousted long-time dictator Muammar Gaddafi. The dams left as much as 1/3 of Derna's housing infrastructure damaged. Now, South Africa's ruling African National Congress, ANC, has now expelled former President Jacob Zuma for leading the rival group in the May elections, following disciplinary proceedings initiated earlier this month. Zuma, who remains popular despite past scandals, was suspended by the ANC in January after endorsing the newly formed Mukonta Wisiwe party. Now, MK secured 14.45% of the votes in the May 29 elections, placing third. Zuma now heads MK, which has 58 seats in the National Assembly. The ANC received 40% of the votes in the May election, marking its weakest performance since ending apartheid 3 decades ago. In straight out South Africa, Russia has now downed 39 Ukrainian drones, primarily targeting border regions, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The drones now were intercepted and destroyed in the Turks region, Nyabov, Belgorod, and 3 over Voronezh, and 5 over Bryansk. 3 others now were neutralized in the Leningrad region. Russia has also launched attacks on Ukraine's power plants, causing severe electricity shortages. Now, the U.S. has blamed Hezbollah for a rocket attack in the Israel-occupied Golan Heights, killing 12 children and teenagers, as Israel also blamed Hezbollah and said it would strike out against the Iran-backed group. Hezbollah denied responsibility as the strike raised fears of a wider Middle East conflict due to Israel's war in Gaza. which has killed tens of thousands and caused a humanitarian crisis. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken emphasized the U.S.'s support for Israel and urged against an escalation of conflict on Israel's northern border.
Let me say that we are deeply saddened by the loss of life that we saw. There is no justification for terrorism, period. And every indication is that indeed the rockets were the rocket was from Hezbollah. We stand by Israel's right to defend its citizens from terrorist attacks. And one of the reasons that we're continuing to work so hard for a ceasefire in Gaza is not just for Gaza, but also so that we can really unlock an opportunity to bring calm, lasting calm, across the blue line between Israel and Lebanon. We're determined to bring the Gaza conflict to a close. It's gone on for far too long. It's cost far too many lives. We want to see Israelis, we want to see Palestinians, we want to see Lebanese live free from the threat of conflict and violence. And again, specifically with regard to the blue line, it's so important that we help diffuse that conflict, not only prevent it from escalating, prevent it from spreading, but to diffuse it, because you have so many people in both countries, in both Israel and Lebanon, who've been displaced from their homes. 60 or 70,000 Israelis, roughly the same number of Lebanese, and absent a secure environment, they're not going to be able to go home. So we're determined to do that. We're in conversations with the government of Israel, and again, I emphasize its right to defend its citizens and our determination to make sure that they're able to do that. But we also don't want to see the conflict escalate. We don't want to see it spread. That has been one of our goals from day one, from October 7th on, and we'll continue to do that. But again, the best way to do that in a sustained way is to get the ceasefire in Gaza that we're working so hard on virtually every minute of the day.
And in another development, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has also expressed concerns that the Venezuelan election result declaring President Nicolas Maduro the winner is not accurate, stating that the announced result does not reflect the will or votes of the Venezuelan people. Now, Maduro won the re-election to a fourth six-year term with 51.2% of votes cast. Blinken emphasized the importance of fair and transparent voting, sharing information with opposition independent observers, and publishing detailed vote tabulations. The international community is also closely monitoring the situation and will respond accordingly. However, China has congratulated Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on his re-election after the official results were rejected by the country's opposition and key regional nations. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian stated that China stands ready to enrich their strategic partnership and better benefit the people of both countries. Maduro visited China in September to strengthen cooperation and also the construction of a new world order. Maduro was declared the winner of Sunday's presidential election with 51.2% of votes, but Venezuela's opposition coalition claimed it had garnered 70% of the votes, rejecting the figures from Maduro's loyalist electoral authority. Now, the two countries are now good friends and partners who support each other. Now, go on a quick commercial break. When we return, the news continues. Stay with us.
My name is Adejoke Lasisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. At Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize a lot of waste. And I was like, this is actually the root cause of this problem, improper waste management system. Then I look at it that, what can we do to solve this problem? And that was how I started using the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. Then I started using it to weave those waste to now make sure that we now convert them into beautiful items like bags, shoes, even clothing. I actually participated at Womenpreneur Season 3, that was 2021. One of the things I really gained at that time was business development. You know, it's not just about the talent now or having to know how to convert the waste or having the idea, but to be able to put it into a successful business. I really appreciate what Access Bank is doing for entrepreneurs. Let us now say women now, because most of the time women don't really have much of these advantages. I love the fact that there's an initiative for women. I want to encourage you to make sure that you go and apply honestly. Your life will not remain the same again.
An African girl somewhere is sitting at home, accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education, and girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
And straight away move on to business. The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced that it will publish the names of owners of unclaimed balances and dormant accounts that have been transferred to the Unclaimed Balances Trust Fund pool account. In a statement titled Frequently Asked Questions on the Guidelines for the Management of Dormant Account, Unclaimed Balances and Other Financial Assets in Banks and Other Financial Institutions in Nigeria, the CBN provided further details. The unclaimed balances refer to the account balances and other financial assets that have remained dormant for a minimum of 10 years in the books of financial institutions and qualify for transfer to the CBN. Guidelines also cover dormant accounts which are distinct from domiciliary account. Accounts eligible for dormant status include current account, savings account, term deposits and local currency, domiciliary account deposits for shares and mutual investments, prepaid card accounts and wallets, government-owned accounts and others are specified by the CBN. Now coming up next is entertainment stories.
Nigerian music superstar Burna Boy had a close call during a recent live performance. A shocking video circulating on social media captured the moment the singer fell off stage while performing at his African Giant album anniversary concert. Known for his energetic stage presence, Burna Boy was in the midst of an electrifying performance when he unexpectedly lost his footing and tumbled off the stage. The incident has sent shockwaves through the music industry and among his millions of fans worldwide. And moving on, popular Nigerian comedian Seyi Law has been tapped for a new role in government. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has appointed the comedian as his senior special assistant on entertainment and tourism. The announcement was made public on Monday by the governor's chief press secretary, Ebenezer Adenio. The appointment is seen as a strategic move to bolster the state's entertainment and tourism sectors, and Seyi Law's appointment takes immediate effect. And finally, pop superstar Lady Gaga has shocked fans by announcing her engagement to longtime boyfriend Michael Polanski. The unexpected news broke during a casual conversation with French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal at the Paris Olympics. In a TikTok video shared by Attal, Gaga introduced Polanski as her fiancé, sending social media into a frenzy. The couple has been in an on-again, off-again relationship since 2019. They initially sparked dating rumors at a New Year's Eve party and later confirmed their romance on Instagram. Despite a reported brief separation in early 2023, they reunited and have been inseparable since. Gaga's recent performance at the Paris Olympics, where she expressed her deep connection to French culture, added a romantic backdrop to the surprise engagement announcement.
More to take on the news this afternoon. Stories, please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Plus TV Africa, Plus Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from LiveMix on LiveMix.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Emmanuel Olububukum. Many thanks for watching.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Imagine that you're going to live for 100 years. The way you treat your body right now, will your liver and your kidney take you that far? Now, you must understand that the body is a biologic organism or a biologic machine, just like your generator and your machines, your car. How do you treat them? You can replace the parts, you take them for regular servicing. There is an input talking about your fuel, and there is an output talking about your combustion, your gas. That same way, the body thrives on an input, maintenance, and output system. The body, like every other biological machine, takes in organic matter because that's its source, comes from the earth, and then uses it for the production of many chemicals, hormones, and synthesis of cells and tissues, and then excretes it organic manure, and it gets back to the soil. How does this happen to maintain your health? You must take in organic-based meal. And that's why the closer your meal is to the earth, the better for you. The closer it is from the earth to you, the better such meals. When many foods stay a long distance before getting to you, it's not as good as when it just gets from ground to you. All right? Very importantly, that you reduce the intake of chemicals. You can't keep taking chemicals. The body doesn't understand it. It's not able to process it. And then for every time the body tries to process these chemicals, it experiences what we call breakdown, especially your excretory organs like your kidney and liver. This has been the cause of many liver damage and kidney damages. So when you take a lot of chemicals, one of them is pure chemicals, such as alcohol, such as spirits, such as tobacco, many of them cigarettes. When you take in these things, the body tries its best to absorb the exogenous substance and excrete them. And of course, you have free radicals running through your system. If you're not able to break them down, your tissues die slowly. All right. Other things are things like even polyprocessed meals. For example, roasted meat, what you call suya. That suya is not very fantastic for your health, especially for your liver. It's not so good. When you take in a lot of carbonated drinks, you further cause damage to your system. And more importantly is that you may not notice them between the ages of 0 to 35, 40. The moment you begin to get off that peak period where your energy, where your body is supposed to start going uphill, you will notice that you cannot go longer than normal, and then you begin to break down. All right. Very important that you take fruits, lots of fruits. And it's important that you're particular about your source of fruits. Many of the fruits nowadays are being synthesized. Many of them are done in the laboratories. Many of them have been changed, mutated. And so when I was little, I know that pineapples that I take used to be very bitter when it's green. Nowadays, the greener it is, the sweeter it is. So these cannot be very useful for the body. So the body cannot use it. The long and short of what I'm trying to say is that your body must use what it needs, not what it doesn't need. When you're taking drugs, if you can prevent the recurrent intakes of drugs, you need to do. Many of you who think that antibiotics is vitamin C, it's not. They're not the same. Take drugs when necessary. And in fact, it must be prescribed. You just go off the counter and take what you like and how you like it, what quantity. You need to take prescribed drugs. Many of us who do herbal drinks and concussions and all kinds of things, you further disintegrate your body system. You make your body confused because the dosages are not clear. One very important source that's given to us by nature is water. A high level of alkalized water is very good for you. A high level of sunlight. Don't be afraid of sunlight. For many of you who go from air conditioners to air conditioners to air conditioners, you need the sunlight to help you provide vitamin D, which carries calcium, makes it absorbed in the bones, and prevents things like osteoporosis, low back pain, arthritis. These are natural ways of preventing illnesses. So you're managing your health that way. You're taking a lot of water, you prevent urinary tract infection, you prevent dehydration, you prevent constipation, you take a lot of fibers from fruits, you prevent constipation, you improve your microorganisms in your system, then you will not fall sick easily. And of course, you do a lot of fruits, including vegetables that contains a lot of carotenes, vitamins, B, B12, B6, A vitamins. Your eyes are very, very protected. And of course, you want to care for your prostate. Lastly, there are age-related diseases. For every age, you want to find out what are the diseases in that age and you begin to treat them. For an example, a man who is clocking 45 years and above needs to check his prostate. Don't be surprised. Oh, he died of prostate cancer. And you're like, no, check your prostates once you hit 45. For a lady, you cross reproductive age, you want to start checking for cervical cancer. Pap smear recurrently, yearly, will not do you bad. Of course, your BP should not be, you should know your BP of your last 1 week. Your blood sugar, you should know the last 1 month blood sugar. Don't be in your new, especially when you clock the age of 40. By then, your health is beginning to take an uphill task. Manage your health so that you can live as much as 100.
I was just calm. I just kept calm, like, okay, let's see what's going to happen next. And they were there that night till at about 11 or 12 late in the night. And then they brought a bus. So they packed all of us. The bus was empty, like they had removed everything inside the bus. They made us sit. We sat in the bus and we drove. So we drove for a couple of hours. I can't remember how many hours, but like close to 7 hours. So on daybreak, I saw where we got to was like a house, very big house, gated, fenced and all that. And they just dropped us there and turned back. So I was surprised, like, So for the first time, and I had to ask the 4 ladies, the 3 other ladies that we left together, please, do you guys really know where exactly we are going to? Like, this whole thing is really looking blurry to me and I don't understand anything anymore. And they're like, even them too, they are even confused though. And to crown it up, they asked us not to talk to each other. They asked us not to say anything to each other. I don't understand. So I just looked everywhere and saw that, okay, there are batches and batches of people seated at different corners. Okay, so I really need to ask questions. So at that point, when Alhaji came out, like he's one in charge of that house, and then he did say, okay, let's look for something to eat. All through this while we are not eating, and he said we should fix something to eat, and they made one spaghetti that didn't have salt, and it was so very funny. Like, so I just summoned courage. I went to meet the Alhaji. I said, please, sir, I need you to just be open and tell me what exactly is going on. Where am I, first of all? He said, Duruku. I said, where is Duruku? He now said, how do I expect him to be able to explain that Duruku, that is what he knows, this place is Duruku. I said, okay, do you know where exactly I'm going to? Or do you know the person that brought me here? He was like, maybe Libya you they go. I said, Libya. I said, I'm not going to Libya. He said, I still say you be Johnny just come. Like, he said, you don't reach here. The only thing now for you make you they go the place where then they carry you, they go say, then go come carry you on tomorrow night. And he refused to say anything afterwards. So I went to sit down and relayed what he said to the other ladies. And everybody became very, very, very like upset and curious, like, okay, let's even find out. So just at that time, there was a lady in the particular room that had like 5 big bags, Ghana must go bags, big ones. So she said she was going back to Kano, that she stays in Kano. She sells gold and clothes. She speaks Yoruba. So she was explaining to one of the ladies. So that was the first instance where I started hearing information, and I just didn't want to believe. Honestly, I didn't believe at that point that maybe that is what we are in. But what she explained to the lady was that we are either being transported to Libya for prostitution or Italy. And then the lady said, she told her that no, the person that took us said we are going to Malaysia. And the lady now laughed and said that is what they will tell you, and that this is her 5th time going through this route. That was the same way she was deceived. But she ran away and was able to find someone who helped her, and eventually that was the person she got married to, and now they are doing like illegal business. She goes there, buys stuff, and goes back to Kano to go sell. So I said, no, it cannot be possible. Like, we all agreed that it cannot be possible, because that was not what they told us. Looking at what the first guy told us, what the magician guy told us, what the lady told us, that it cannot be possible, that maybe hers is a different kind of connection. So fast forward from there, they came to pick us the next night in a Hilux, arranged us, and we drove for like 3 days non-stop. Okay, we had 2 stopovers. The first stopover was in a very cold, white place. Like, I have never seen that kind of cold in my life before. I was shivering to the brain. Like, I just couldn't imagine why I was going through this. Like, if these people really want to help me, this is not a way to help someone. You cannot be helping someone and the person is in pain. So, but I couldn't really say much because I was already in it. So we drove for days, and on the 3rd day where we stopped was really looking like, I didn't know what to call the place. There were thousands of people, young ladies, guys, and they were calling it ghetto. This is ghetto. They were calling the particular ghetto. The ghetto had a name, and they said, okay, now we can go and have our bath. So for the first time after 7 days, we're going to 8 days, we're going to have our bath and have change of clothes. So first of all, my concern was to even just let me even have a bath first and find something tangible to eat. So they made rice, we ate. In the midst of eating, I started hearing conversations. So I said, okay, since they said we should not talk to anybody, no problem. I'm going to find out everything I need to find out, and if possible, go back from here. So during conversations, I heard people saying, they will tell you everything possible, that here it is Libya they're taking you to, You either go and work as a housemaid or you go and work in connection house, all manner of things. And at that point, it really dawned on me that what that lady had said earlier was very true. So the other 3 ladies, 2 of them now came to meet me when I was sitting down. I like, see what I am hearing. I said, okay, even me too. I heard the same thing. And we're like, are we sure we want to continue this journey? So at that point, I was really upset with myself not to have verified whatever information I got. I started crying. I was in pain. Like, why will I be going through this? Like, no. Even if, for crying out loud, this is not help. This is like putting me in a pit where I can't talk, I can't communicate. Now there is no communication, nothing. So I looked around. We were there till the next day, and then there was this particular guy, Mohammed, that was giving out clothes, was calling out names and all. So I walked up to him and said, please, at this junction, I don't think I want to continue this journey. Can you help me? I want to go back home. And then he said, that what I just asked is very dangerous. That if it was yesterday when I came that I said that it would have been, maybe you can manage or think of how to go about it. That already the person that I'm being taken to knows I'm here. Whatever makes me not get to her, he has to be the one to pay for me. I'm like, pay for me as how? He said, somebody paid for you to be brought to her, and pay transit, they pay additional money just to be sure that the person is being carried along. And I was like, okay, so how much does it cost to get up to this point? And if I'm to go back from here, I can actually call them, tell them I don't want to continue this journey and I want to go back home. He said it's either of 2 things. It's either you get home or you don't get home. They might tell you to go. They'll either kidnap you and sell you to a place where you'll never be able to come out from, or they might even kill you. That he would advise me to just go and face my fate, but I should pray that whoever I'm going to go and meet is not a bad person. And I asked that, why did he say so? He said he cannot say anything more. That I'm here, and the only way forward is to move forward. I was like, okay. I was broken. I couldn't even tell the other ladies what he had said. I summoned courage to eventually see. So that night, they put us in a hillock. We're about 36 or 32 of us. And they made us sit in rows in the hillocks. So we drove for like 3 days. We had a couple of stopovers, but I was really choked up because I was seated back in the hillocks. So everybody's weight was resting on me, and it was hell for me. I couldn't breathe at some point. My legs were dead. I couldn't move. Even when we stopped, I took like minutes. Most of us took like minutes to even be able to stand up. And I was like, no. But even if I were to travel by road, he did say it was going to be at some point. At least by now, the traveling by road should have stopped. And that was... So I remembered what the other guy said at the... where we were, that there's no flight, anything. They deceived you. Everything they told you was just to cajole you to decide to go, that there is no flight anywhere. You're going by road to wherever you're going to. So at that point, I was just concerned with one thing, which is surviving and coming back home at all cost. So after the first stopover, I became sick a little bit. I started having too many issues. So I decided not to sit in the hillocks again. And then I had to sit at the edge on top of the tire box. And then I had a stick in between my legs. So they made ladies sit inside the hillocks, and then the guys would sit around the hillocks. But because of my previous experience, I had difficulties breathing. I said I wasn't going to sit inside the hillocks again, that I was going to sit at the edge. So I did sit on the edge of the hillocks and had a stick to hold on to, and we drove for another couple of days. The experience in the desert was it's not something. Sometimes when I think about it, I just smile. My smiling is not that, okay, I'm happy, but I wonder how I was able to pull through. I wonder how I was able to manage my health. I wonder how I was able to cope up mentally, emotionally, thinking about everything I had left back at home, everyone. I kept them in the dark. I didn't really say much. And then thinking about the people who deceived me, like, if you want to help someone, you should help someone and not even put them into more problems. So a lot of things were racing through my mind. I got so discouraged at my own life. I felt really bad that I was impatient. I didn't ask questions. Of all places, why would I be going to Libya to do what? Like, I wasn't even, I couldn't really define the feelings I had then. But at each point, what I always did was to just pray to God that, God, I know that I have done wrong not to have even, look out for my own self. But I'm asking for just one thing. Wherever I'm going to, make sure you take me back home, healed and healthy. So we had another stopover. I got beaten along the way by Arab men. I was trying to save someone from getting beaten wrongly, and I got the beating. Difficulty, there was no food, there was no water, the weather was, the sun would be shining and scorching, and the cold was extremely cold. Like, I couldn't really, there was no definition of everything that was going on. I was just bleak and blank. At the point, I was regretting every step from my friend. I started cursing, like, so she knew about this. That was why at the point she disappeared. She didn't really see anything. And even when I asked her about it, she pretended not to know anything about traveling. That this guy didn't tell her anything about traveling. But I'm like, but you introduced me to this guy, so it's not possible for him to come tell me something about traveling and you didn't know. I thought so far and wide to the point where I felt, okay, I know I'm not going to die. I know I'm not going to die. I know I will go back home. And I'm so going to fish these people out and really find out the reason why they ever did such to me. At some point, I became very ill. I had very bad cough because I refused to sit again at that point. We had sat for like 3 days. So all my ties were burnt and peeled from the sitting. And the Hilux, the speed at which the Hilux was moving was really high. It wouldn't stop. At a point, a guy fell off the Hilux and they didn't wait. They didn't wait. The drivers were so mean. We don't understand their language. They don't understand our language. So even when you're beckoning on them to say, oh, something is going on. There was a time a guy was throwing up. He was feeling, okay, I think it was about throwing up. So we're like, okay, maybe if he stops. We tried beckoning on them, and if they come out, the next thing they do is to probably hit you with something, saying all manner of languages. We didn't understand. We couldn't speak to them. They couldn't speak to us. It was hell for me. So because my laps were peeled, I couldn't sit again. So I now stood behind the pavement of the main Hilux box. And then that journey was for 5 days. 5 days of cold, 5 days, as in I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. Like at some point, I would just cry and scream out loud. Like, I wish the sky could even feel my pain. Like, there was no definition to what I was going through. And I just kept crying and crying and crying. After crying, I'll console myself. You're just crying. You see, everybody here, they also have one reason to cry. So they cannot shoulder you and tell you sorry. So you alone will have to shoulder your pain. And that hurt me so bad. Sometimes when people see me talk about the story and I'm not really showing so much emotions, they feel, oh, we're not too sure you went through this. I have said it like 1,000,001 times. It's something I went through, and I can imagine how I had to just tell myself that, come, you have a child back home that you love. You need to be alive to come back to her. that was my source of strength. And the life I really wanted for myself ever before embarking on that journey just kept me going, that I know one day I am going to eventually come back and say this story to people. So at that point, remembering and recalling everything, one question kept popping in my head: why will people not have any other thing to do other than to do a business where you transport people to an unknown country, you lie to them, you deceive them, you promise them heaven and earth, and then put them on a dangerous path where is either they make it or they don't make it, and you will not even tell them any of this. So I was bent on making it to wherever it is. I said to myself, no matter how wicked whoever it is I'm going to go and meet is, I'm going to come back home and know the reason why people really did this business. On getting to Sabah, Sabah is halfway into Libya. On getting to Sabah, we had a connection house where they put us. We met about 60 ladies in the room, and then the guys also had their room. And they kept adding us. They kept adding. And at a point, I counted, we were about 80 in that room, the ladies' room. The guys were about 40-something. The food was really bad. You know, having to make banku. Now, this is not even the original banku. This is the banku made with flour. Having to make flour like fufu. And then maybe they'll serve like 20 plates down. And then everybody will now line up. By the time you're eating, it's as though you're eating stone, you're swallowing stone. The soup was so watery that you won't even, you're not. The very first day I was asking myself, like, I know I had challenges back at home, but my challenges were not so bad that I couldn't even eat a good meal. Like, this is not a meal. So the first day we had that in the night. The next day we had rice, very small portion of the rice was dried. You can imagine when you boil rice and then you open it, you put it in a plate and you just open it down. And because the weather is very cold, so anything you don't keep properly dries up. So by the time you're eating the rice and like it's like you're eating rubber. So at some point we just sit there crying out that no, this is not life. This is not, why are we having to go through this? I would cry every night. I would beg God that please, can I just vanish from here? Okay, at the point I was begging for death to come because it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. And within ourselves, some girls were like, they were really radical about it, and they were like, no, we need to tell them, it's either they change the way they are doing this food, or maybe we should even take up the cooking by ourselves. So I thought of it, I was like, okay, that's true. So if already I'm going through hell, and then food now has to be a problem. So we waited for the ghetto man, the person in charge of the ghetto, like, we waited for him to come. We kept shouting, when is he coming? When is he coming? We don't even know why we are here. We don't even know what we are doing here. So at that time, we had stayed a week. We don't know why we are being kept here. We don't know who even put us here. We don't even know anything. Nobody is saying anything. So when the connection man did come, we took turns to ask questions. I noticed everybody was just asking questions. Where are we going to? Where are we going to? And all. So I did ask him. I said, okay, first of all, why are we here? Do you have an answer, or do you know the reason why we are here? And then he said, you are here because you're being transported to your burger. And then we now asked, what is the meaning of a burger? He said a burger is a person that paid for you to be transported from Nigeria. So we're like, is that the reason why we are being given bad food? Like when you're given something to swallow and it's already hurting your throat, like practically almost everybody had sore throats from that banku. And it was like, okay, he doesn't know anything about the way the food was being prepared, but that this place is just a transit, and the reason why we are here is because the road is bad, there is war, and they cannot transport us. It's very risky, and that we might meet rebels on the way, and rebels, they either rape, kill, abduct, and we're like, okay, so for how long are we going to be here? He said, doesn't know until the war is over. So if it takes 1 month, if it takes 2 months, but just know that for every food you are eating, for every extra thing you collect here, your money is piling up. It is your burger that is paying, and when you get to wherever you're going to, you have to work to pay your burger back. So we now, 5 of us volunteered to be cooking our food by ourselves, and we were there for extra 2 weeks and some days. In total, we were there for 3 weeks and 5 days. And then we started the journey to Libya. That was where I had a near-death experience. So we were somewhere, we were kept in a particular house where they locked us. There was no light, nothing. And then we were pressed. We had traveled, we had drove for like 2 days, and they put us there. So, but before we entered, we were already beckoning on this boat that we want to ease, we want to ease. They didn't even want to listen. They were just pushing us like, how can you people just be pushing somebody like animals? We don't even know where we're going. Like, this is very unthinkable. So I held that urine for good 2 days. So the next morning when they came, now see them begging that, please, we want to wee. So the man was, arrogantly, he was talking, and he went to get a gallon, like this aluminum gallon. We now looked at it that, how a guy can pee in this, but how can a lady pee in this? And from the descriptions he was giving us, he meant that we shouldn't allow the pee to spill on the floor. So we said, okay, all the guys should pee first and the ladies would take turns to pee, which was what happened. And somehow pee actually spilled. So by the time he was coming back, when he opened the door, so the pee, pee wouldn't, and you can imagine pee that stayed, the smell, it was awful. He was angry. He went back, he went to get a stick, and he was holding like 3 different things. So I was wondering, what does this guy want to do? At that point, everybody had their heart in their mouth, because the moment you see them holding anything, they can hit you anywhere. They can hit you anywhere. So he was now asking who spilled pee on the floor. They were pointing to the wrong person. So I was just watching initially. They were pointing to and he was going to start beating her. So I was not like trying to say, no, she wasn't the one. You see, when that spring landed on my head, this spring they use in the water closet. Very strong and thick. And all I knew that was going on was that I was screaming at the top of my voice with both hands on my head, because it actually hit me on my head. And when I gave birth, like 8 months, when I was 8 months pregnant, I fell in the bathtub and had a slit on my head from the tiles in the bathroom. So sometimes that part of the head still hurts. So when he hit that spring on my head, it was exactly on that spot, and he did it like 3 times. He kept hitting the spring on me. I remember crying till I didn't know what was going on. And for the first time, when they say people have transition, I always wonder. I knew I was just lost somewhere. I knew something was going on to my body. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what. I was just blank. But I could hear myself crying. And I was just crying, as in, bitter tears. You cry bitter tears, and you just have to still be the one to tell yourself, you have to stop. So by the time I woke up, the other ladies were like, you need to see the way they were rejoicing, because they said they didn't believe I was going to still come back to life. The head was actually bleeding at that point. And at that point when I woke up, they had cleaned it, they had tried everything. I remember when they were pouring water on me. I remember when somebody was tapping me and everything. And I was like, they started explaining what actually happened. That the moment he hit that spring on my head the second time, I started screaming, and they noticed I was bleeding, and I cried, and I just went mute. And they were telling him that she's not talking, and the man just told them, bara, 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 and he went away. He said they were praying, they were begging God that this girl must not die. She has been like a source of strength to us. If she dies here, what's going to happen and all that. It actually took me 4 to 5 hours before I woke up. And at that point, I had lost strength, I had lost everything. So there was a lady we met in that place that had a phone. So that was the first time I had to beg her. I'm sure it was because as a result of what had happened, she did not allow any other person use her phone. They would normally not allow you use their phones. So I couldn't even tell my mom what I was going through, because there's no how she would hear my voice like that and not panic. And I know the kind of mother I have. So I called my boss that I had worked with in the FRSC and told him, this is what has happened to me. And I don't even know where. Yeah, we were in Trauna at that time. And he said, but why didn't you say anything before leaving? And then I told him that they told us not to say anything. The moment they say don't say anything, you should have known it was trafficking. I know that you're naive and you do not know anything, but you should have told me. Because he was now like a father to me. Even after I had stopped working with the FRSC then, he was like a father to me. Said he was going to try his best to see what he can do, but that still being on transit, there is probably little or nothing he can do at that point. So I'm sure he tried calling back, because the lady kept cutting a particular call. I wouldn't know, and I didn't want to disturb her. So at that point, I really cried. I cried. That was the only thing I could do. I just cried. Like, I have never suffered like this in my life before. Even if I'm to suffer anything, it shouldn't be suffering from a decision to have a better life. So long and short was, we got into Libya and they kept hiding us. They lay us in hillocks, cover us with tarpaulin, hiding, running, making sure you're not seen, number of choking, you have to be there, sometimes 3 hours, 2 hours, you won't be able to breathe, you can practically feel life leaving you, you're sniffing each other's air, and in the midst of all of this, some people will be fighting and quarreling and beating themselves. I just couldn't imagine why. And even in that, some people decided they wanted to go do this thing, like they wanted to travel this way. I didn't know anything like this existed. I didn't know anything of such even happens. Finding myself in it was like the biggest dream I never wished to have again. So, found ourselves in Libya, and the first thing they did, seeing Nigerian girls and women, I was like, okay, so finally, we have gotten to our destination. So, what's next? Entering that house, I knew this is going to be a big problem for me. Because already I was upset. I was ready to yell at anybody. And then the first thing they made us do was to strip ourselves. I was like, okay. So I did remember at some point in the journey where a particular guy, we met him somewhere, and he also gave us a hint of how it actually goes. He said they're taking you to the garage. And then I now asked, what is the garage? He said the garage is a place where they take Nigerian girls to. And that's the most common place that they take them to. And they're going to take you to the connection house. And what they do normally in the connection house is sex trade. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that one. He said, you will not have a choice. He said, they'll make life hell for you. You will not have a choice. So he now said that if eventually I get there, and that is what it is, that I have an option to run away. But it's very risky. And then he did give me his number and said that I must not write that number anywhere, that if they see that number with me, they will beat the living daylight out of me, because they will know that I have contacted the burger as well. So he made me cram that number. Two of us, we crammed that number to be sure that we didn't forget the number. But you see all the experiences we went through afterwards. At a point, I couldn't even remember the number anymore. And then I remember what he said. He said, you just have to help yourself remain strong. And while they asked us to strip ourselves, I was like, for whatever reason, I'm coming to work for someone. Why would you ask me to strip myself? So they said this. They were searching, maybe you have a number written somewhere in form of a tattoo, or maybe you wrote the number somewhere and you hid it in your clothes, or anything. They just wanted to be sure you didn't have any information whatsoever. They collected my phone, went through my phone, and that night they called us one after the other. So, what were you doing in Nigeria? And then I explained, and the man said, okay, now this is the woman and her husband. The man said, okay, I can see. And then the first question he asked me was, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I was dumb, like. He said, you have something good doing. What are you doing here? I said, it was a friend that said there's traveling opportunity, and said, there's no need to explain. You are here, you are here. Oh, need choice near. Your own is to make sure you work on time and pay and get out of here. So the wife now asked, what did they tell you that you're coming here to do? I said, first of all, this is not where they told me I'm coming to, and they told me I'm going to be working in a hair factory and a restaurant. And then she laughed and said, that is not it. That this is what they do here. That did I see all those other girls outside? I said, yes. He said, what do you think they are doing? I said, I don't really know, but I saw a couple of girls sitting down. He said, they're working for their money. He said, that is the same thing you're going to do. And I was like, I don't understand. He said, yes, that's the same thing you're going to do. So the earlier the better for you. I bluntly refused, because this is that wasn't what I was told in Nigeria. And for no reason, why would I leave Nigeria to come to Libya, to come and prostitute with my body to make money? How much money do I want to make? So I felt that I was doing myself good by trying to be as open as possible. I was very plain and blunt, and then she just kept laughing. I was like, but yeah, nobody will tell you. So she said, okay. And the same thing with every other girls, because we had agreed that, okay, if eventually we find out that that is what we're actually being taken there to do, that we are not going to agree to it, because that was not the agreement. And for whatever reason, we cannot just decide to leave Nigeria and go and prostitute somewhere. So she was like, she knows that girls that they just bring from Nigeria are very stubborn, that she will give us 3 days to go and decide. But in that 3 days, we should be watching at the other girls to see how they actually go about what they do. And the first day went by, second day went by. I vowed to myself, I said, nowhere in heaven's name will I live this kind of a life. Like, it was so absurd. I was grieved, I was bitter, I was angry, all manner of words, because looking at all the experience in the journey, I almost died, and then all for what? To come here and come and use my body to work to pay someone. I'm like, it didn't make sense. I cried every minute I remembered. And on the third day, she did call us to ask us if we were ready. I told her that she has to look for another job for me. And then she said, okay, since I don't want to take it easy, since I don't want to take it the easy way, that they'll show me how they also go the hard way. So that night, we didn't even know what she meant. That night, a girl was brought in, and we watched more than 5 people beat that girl black and blue. Wow. She had also refused. The connection house where she was taken to, she had also refused to do the same connection house job. It was actually a burger that brought her, but they took her somewhere else. So they said she was being stubborn where she is, or where she was, and then they brought her back to the burger. Madam, come and take your girl, give us back our money. She said she knew the work. They beat that girl to stupor. They beat her to the point where I sat where I was and I told myself, I said it out, like, these people are not humans. Like, why? On seeing the way they beat that lady, I was like, so I will also come to this point where they will have to beat me to say, yes, I will do it. I said, I'd rather die. Because at the point when they beat her, she was like, okay, Mache, I will do it, I will work, I will do it. I was like, so this is what I will go through. So for some reasons, I didn't know, they took the other 3 ladies out of where I was. It was now left with only me in that house that came together. So after a week, she then asked me that, what else can I do? I said, I cook. She was like, okay. She gave me pepper and oil. I said, go and make stew with it. I made the stew. She told them to teach me how to make banku. I made the banku. She was like, okay, not bad for a start. So first of all, your first job here is you're going to be cooking for everybody. My heart was like, okay, finally she has agreed to give me something else. So another week went by and she said, Orobo, I don't know where one day she just called me by that name and said, for her, that is what she will be calling me. Although she gave me another name, Success. So everybody calls me Success, but she calls me Orobo. And then she looked at me and said, Orobo, are you ready to work now? I was dumbfounded and I couldn't say anything. And in my head, I was like, if it is to die here, I think I'm ready to do that. But to use my body here, I will not. So 3 weeks went down. And all of these weeks, nobody even came in one day to say, this person, how she be, who she be, and all. So after the 3rd week, a man came in, a matured Nigerian man, a Yoruba man. He came in and did ask to take me home. And at first she refused, that she wasn't going to let him take me home, but he begged and all of that. So when we got home, he sat me down and said, I didn't bring you here to come and sleep with you. I brought you here to teach you one lesson that will help you if you must live where you are. He said he noticed the way I was being questioned, the way I was being bullied and all that, that is the way the woman does. And that I'm even still seeing the better side of her, that she's a really, really hard person. And when she's ready to go hard, she goes all the way. He said, you see where you are, there's no shortcut. There is no way out other than for you to actually make money, pay them before you leave. And if you are not even careful, you'll be done paying them, you will not know, you'll still be there playing a fool, working for them. So you have to be smart. I see that you are innocent, but then yet you are smart. So I need you to wake up that smart instinct in you and know what to do to live there as soon as possible. He said he was going to be going to Italy in 3 weeks. From that time, that was the reason why the woman refused to give me to him initially, because normally that is the way some men will come there, take girls and they run away with them and they don't eventually get their money. So he said, but he's going to teach me how to make it fast. That if I work with my body to pay them, they'll split that money in 2. But if I'm doing something extra to pay them, they would record the money just the way it is. Say, for example, I sleep with someone and the man pays me 5,000 naira. They're not recording 5,000 naira. They're recording 2,500. But if maybe I sell something or I save up money and I give them that same 5,000 naira cash at hand, they'll record the 5,000 naira for me. So the best for me is to think of something I can start doing to get extra money, which is begging. So when these guys come, I have to beg them for extra penny. Or if they ask for anything beyond what I'm supposed to give them, like in normal duty, then I should ask for extra cash. Those extra cash are the extra stipends I'm supposed to be saving up to give them. I cried my ass out that night. So he said, you see, she's even giving you grace. He said, it's because she likes you. That this woman, she's naturally not the patient type, and the moment you're proving hard, she'll go hard with you and you'll give up. So the earlier the better for you. But he felt that he should just reach out to me and teach me something that would help me. So I eventually spent 2 years and 9 months in Libya altogether. I spent a year and 8 months in the connection house, and that a year and 8 months was hell for me. So after 7 months, I tried reaching out. So at the point they released a phone for the girls in the house to call their customers, to know when they're coming, to know if you're having someone who is coming to come and sleep with you over, or someone who is going to come and take you out and all. So I begged one of the girls in charge one day to allow me buy airtime on the phone to call. So I did call my dad, and my dad was really bitter, and he said the only way he knows I can get out of that place is for me to find my way to the Nigerian embassy and tell them that I want to come back home. So I waited for 3 days to actually get that report, because he didn't know what to do at that point. He said, okay, can I call you back? So I said, I don't know, but I'll try and talk to the person in charge of this phone so that whenever you call, they give me the call to answer, which was what actually happened. And somehow, I don't know how they got to know, but they found out that I called the Nigerian embassy, and they beat hell out of my life. They beat hell, everybody in the house, plus at that time, my burger wasn't in Libya at that time, she was in Nigeria. It was the husband that was at home then. The husband beat me, all the girls in the house beat me, so I wanted to run away. Oh, I'm trying to be smart, and this and that. After all, they knew that from the very first day I came, the woman was calling me a virus because she knows that I'm kind of smart. I will try to play smart. So from that time, they locked me out from phone. They stopped allowing me go out. It was I can't start recounting experiences, day-to-day activities, how I felt. At some point, I would just practically pray that, God, please, when I sleep this night, don't allow me to wake up in the morning. I slept very late, and I'm always the first to wake up. So after a while, I started gaining confidence, like, no, even if I foolishly allowed myself into this, I should be able to still bring myself out of it. So I changed my attitude and started being very smart. I called up as much information as I could. I got to, I became very nice. I always learned lessons, and, I was trying my possible best to see beyond the problem I was in and was already thinking of a way out. So I had a couple of guys who would just naturally like me, and they would tell me, you see, when you're ready to leave this place. Some guys went as far as asking, okay, madam, how much is this girl's money? Let's pay. She would intentionally double the money and make them run away. So when she did that the first time, the second time, I just knew that, okay, so this woman is actually being wicked. But not to worry, I'm actually still going to live here. So when it was about a year and 5 months, I sat down one day and calculated how much I had paid, minus all the subtraction. If you do anything, she'll beat you and subtract your money. Maybe 50 dinars, maybe 100. If you quarrel with anybody, maybe 200 dinars. If you fight, maybe 500 dinars and all. So by the time I calculated and I saw that the money had gotten up to like 5,000 dinars, which was actually what that man told me. He said normally it's supposed to be 2,500 dinars, but burgers are always wicked. They want to collect even double of that. So sometimes you have to pay up to like 5,000 to 6,000 dinars before they will let you go. And some will still not let you go, except you fight for your freedom. So when I calculated, and I had calculated about 7,000 dinars, I was like, okay, I think my time here is up. And then I started asking for freedom. She initially refused and said that I was not done paying her. So I said, okay. So in 2016, when she was going to come to Nigeria in September, she gave me freedom in August. That was a year and 8 months. She said, okay, that now I am free to work for my own money. But whatever money you're working, the same way they were splitting in two, it's just that this other half now, instead of them collecting it, they'll give it to you. Sometimes they may not even give it to you. They'll tell you to keep it with them. Maybe you want to send some money to Nigeria. So I said, okay, no, that I didn't want to keep it with them, that I actually wanted to live there. She said, I cannot live there until she comes back. I have to wait for her to come back to Libya because she had had a new child and she wanted to come home. I said, okay. So throughout that month, that September, I kept having dreams that if I don't leave that place, I probably might not have my life again. The dream came like about 5 to 6 times, and then I just summoned courage to open up to the husband, to tell him that I think I'm very sick and I want to go take care of myself. This is about a year and 9 months now. From the day one up until now, I worked every day and slept nothing more than 3 to 4 hours, that I needed to take care of myself. And he understood with me because several times in between, I had fallen sick, like so bad, that at some point it took drips to like resuscitate me back and all. And the man also knew that I was very, very hardworking. Like at the point, he would always tell the wife, stop beating this girl. Like, you need to stop, even if you're beating every other person, but you see this one, stop beating her. And the next thing is, she will say, oh, okay, so now you're sleeping with my husband. My husband is fighting for you. This, that. I know you are hardworking, but you must be sleeping with my husband for him to be fighting me to stop beating you. And then she will intensify whatever thing she was doing. So, but I kept bearing them up. At that point, I made up my mind. So there's this Ghanaian guy who had already told me that whenever I'm ready, that he had an apartment he doesn't really stay in, that he goes to the village to work. Sometimes he doesn't come home 2-3 months, that he could give his space up for me to stay there, take care of myself. So when I did mention to him that I wanted to go and that I was sick, he did say, okay, that I should call the wife and tell her, which I did. And then she was like, so I cannot wait for her to come back. I told her that no, I can't wait, that I'm very, very sick and I needed to go take care of myself. She said, okay, I should hand over the account to the husband and I can leave, which I did. That was in October 2016. I did that in October 2016. In November, that was November 2016. I did that in November 2016. I had barely stayed a month in the new house where I was staying. I'd stayed a month and I was taking treatment, eating well and all that. And I heard she came back. She did actually call me to come and cook for her, but I refused going. And then on the 2nd of January in 2017, there was a massacre in the garage. The massacre was bloody. I think they were counting 300 bodies and they were still counting as at the time we got the news. The bombing and from where I was, it's not so far a distance, it's a bit far. We could hear the bombs, we could hear the gunshots. Part of the things we face like every day, you don't sleep, like gunshots. There are some bombs that you practically feel like the house is going to be uprooted from the ground. There was a day that we were running and a stray bullet passed by my side, brushed my leg. Like, I don't know how I escaped. I don't know how I escaped, but you know, it was just God that was just protecting me all through. And at that point in January, when that massacre happened, like 6 girls in that house actually died. And for me, I felt, oh, this is God just saving me. I guess this is what God was talking to me about, when I kept seeing those dreams, and I made up my mind I was going to just go back home. Um, 2 months out of there, I called a friend and told her that if there was a way she could help me find money, I needed to come back home. And she was the one that told me about the voluntary return, that I needed to find my way to the UN's office or whichever way and all that. So I remembered contacting the Nigerian embassy. So I did keep the number. So I then asked questions, because I was now going to a church. I then asked questions, and they said, okay, that I needed to get to the IOM office. I had challenges locating them in the first place, but eventually I got to the IOM office, and then they gave me a date to come back to visit. I did drop all my information, and then they said, okay, that in 2 weeks' time I should go to the Nigerian embassy to go get a travel document. And after getting a travel document, they will not let me know when to come back, and I'll be ready to go to Nigeria. So that was all. And up until then, I just kept managing, kept believing God that it was going to work well. And eventually it did work well, and that was how I came back to Nigeria. August 28th in 2017. And for me, that was the best decision I could make. Though it was painful that I just went to suffer my life out for almost 3 years and no gain, nothing, and then I'm back, having to come back empty-handed. And up until today, both the travel agent, both the guy that introduced me to the travel agent and the lady, none of them has been found. And life hasn't been easy getting back to my feet. Like, I was in bad depression for like almost 2 years. It was really bad coming back to see that, okay, first of all, I have lost money, I have lost friends, I have lost business, and then having to resume my motherly duties almost immediately because children wouldn't hear, oh, I had a bad experience. And then having to reintegrate back into the community, it was really difficult. Like, it just took the grace of God, and it took my kind of strong personality to just keep resuscitating me, and I just kept believing that I'll definitely be who I really wanted to be. I didn't really need to think about the pain, but then the lesson can never be forgotten. The experience can never be forgotten. The trauma, the pain, and everything can never be forgotten. But then one thing can be done, which is moving ahead and making use of all the experiences. And then I did find answers to my quest as to why people did trafficking as a business. And I think that apart from poor economy, some people are just ignorant and they don't really care. They just can do anything just to make money.
Ìmọ́tótó ló lè ṣẹ́gun àrùn gbogbo. Ìmọ́tótó ló lè ṣẹ́gun àrùn gbogbo.
Cholera is defined as an infectious disease that is caused by ingestion of food and water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. It usually occurs as diarrhea, dehydration, and may lead to death if left untreated. Cholera was first discovered in 1854 by an Italian physician, Philip Pacini, during an outbreak in Florence, Italy. Also, record shows that cholera was detected by Robert Koch, a physician and microbiologist in India in 1883. In Nigeria, since its first appearance in 1972, intermittent outbreaks have been occurring. The later part of 2010 was marked with a widespread in the northern part of Nigeria, spreading to the other parts, and involving approximately 3,000 cases and 781 deaths. Unlike many other infectious diseases, cholera persists as a huge public health problem worldwide, even where there are accessible and effective methods for its prevention and treatment. The main reasons for its persistence are socioeconomic, since cholera thrives in unhygienic conditions and environments with a reputation of already fragile sanitation, especially in overcrowded areas. The major symptoms of cholera are diarrhea, nausea and vomiting, dehydration, muscle cramps, and shock. To prevent being infected with cholera, you should provide safe water, basic sanitation, and maintain adequate hygiene practices. If infected, the first aid treatment to assist the sufferer, if medical professionals are not readily available, is to get oral rehydration solution to replace lost fluids and electrolytes. Without rehydration, approximately half of the people infected with cholera will die. Severe cases need rapid treatments with intravenous fluids and antibiotics, which are to be recommended and administered by medical experts. There is currently an increase of cholera outbreak in Nigeria, and the Lagos State government declared a cholera outbreak on the 9th of June 2024. 3 suspected cases of cholera have been reported respectively in neighbouring Oyo and Ogun states. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, reported that as of 11th of June 2024, 1,141 suspected cholera cases had been recorded across 30 states in Nigeria, including Bayelsa, Lagos, Abia, Cross River, Delta, and Imo, with some situated further north, Katsina, Nasarawa, and Zamfara states. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, says Nigeria must prevent spread in schools. With the intervention of all relevant bodies, individuals also have a relevant role to play. Prevention is better and cheaper than cure. Here are a few prevention tips. Drink and use safe water. Flush or bury poop. Wash and peel raw fruits with clean hands. Also, cook food thoroughly. Thoroughly clean toilets and surfaces contaminated with poop. Remember, health is wealth. Stay safe.
Hello and welcome to the Literary Bar, your hangout for all genres of literature. I'm so excited to be back here with you to talk about books and poetry. So what have you been reading? I want to hear all about it. Today at the bar, we'll be visiting India through the pages of a book so well written that has garnered a few prizes, most notably the Man Booker Prize in 2008. It has also been turned into a movie. This genre is satire. I think authors fall back on satire to tell us some hard truths. Laughter mitigates the pain of our sad reality. So grab that cup of tea or your glass of wine and let's get lit, all right? So I'll see you right after the break. Welcome back to the Literary Bar. Drum roll, please, as I present my all-time favorite, The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. This book won the prestigious Man Booker Prize in 2008. Adiga was born in India in 1974 and attended Columbia and Oxford universities. He was a former correspondent for Times Magazine. He lives in India currently. Since the publication of The White Tiger, he's written other notable works such as The Last Man in Tower and between the assassinations. I love him so much, I have the second one. Our protagonist in this book is Balram Halwai. His parents were too poor and despondent to name him, so his teacher named him Balram. His caste determined his name and ambition. Halwai is a sweet maker, but the reality of their life was bitter, abject poverty. Balram was such a clever student that a school official called him the white tiger, a species of tiger that is seen once in a century or more. He goes from brilliant schoolboy to a cunning but loyal driver, then a murderer and an entrepreneur with a philosophical bent. Balram became a sociopath that generously offers you his shoes for you to walk in. This book is written as a letter addressed to a visiting premier of China, Premier Jiabao, to India on an official assignment. For 7 nights, Balram reconstructs the story of his life, highlighting the effects of corruption in government, official whitewashing, the caste system in India, and social inequality, political brigandage, we call here area boys, area fathers, and injustice. From the education inspectors to hospital administrators, politicians, institutional corruption. The whole city is washed out in the effects of bad leadership and mismanagement. Balram also has a disdain for religion because none of the numerous gods, he named about 3,000 gods, and then the Christian and the Muslim god, none of them were able to save him or his mother. The slum landlords wreaked havoc in the region and defined the trajectory of his life with devastating consequences, as you'll find out at the end of the book. Recently, in India, in real life, 2 women were partially buried alive over land dispute in Rewa, Madhya Pradesh, in India. And also, we are very much aware of the Ambani wedding that happened. About $600 million was invested in this wedding in a country where the people are suffering from total, abysmal poverty. One defining metaphor in the book is the rooster coop, a story that outlines the relationship between the timid, loyal, but disposable servants to their unappreciative masters. After his master tries to make him take a fall for his wife's drunken car accident, Balram realized that his loyalty was misplaced. Thus, when his master tried to bribe another corrupt government official, Balram literally struck his master dead, and escaped with the loot to start life as an entrepreneur. He is also reliant on the voracious appetite of the insatiable corrupt police officers to operate freely in the society. I'm going to read some excerpt from this book when we come back. So join me, refill that cup and join me. I'll be right back. I'm just going to give you some very little excerpt to tell you more about this character that tries to define what corruption has done to him. If there's any other way to define Balram, it's just to tell you that corruption breeds its own. When leaders or people in power choose not to do the right thing, the wrong thing comes back to bite them. And this is how he describes his life as he was taken out from school. If he could write his story, he would call it the autobiography of a half-baked Indian. That's what I will call my life story. Me and thousands of others in this country like me are half-baked because we were never allowed to complete our schooling. Open our skulls and look in with a pen light, and you will find an odd museum of ideas, sentences of history or mathematics remembered from school textbooks. No boy remembers his schooling like the one who was taken out of school. Let me assure you. Sentences about politics read in a newspaper while waiting for someone to come into an office. Triangles and pyramids seen on torn pages of old geometry textbook, which every tea shop in the country uses to wrap its snacks in. Bits of all Radio India news bulletin, things that drop into your mind like lizards from the ceiling. In the half hour before falling asleep, all these ideas, half formed and half digested and half correct, mix up with other half-cooked ideas in your head. And I guess these half-formed ideas bugger one another and make more half-formed ideas. And this is what you act on and live with. Take a look around you, everywhere you go, in this country and all around. The people who suffer the most are the ones who were not allowed the basic needs, the fulfillment of basic needs and human rights, which is education. Look around you. We're here in Lagos. Everywhere you go, there are children hawking. They have very minimal education. But the problem, which we do not realize at this time, that these children will grow. And then what will they become? What will we become when they take over the streets? When they start to control the neighborhoods where we live in? Area boys, area fathers. And then what do? We build up bigger fences so that we can protect ourselves from them. But they will meet us on the street and wait. And this is what Balram is talking about. Children like this who are denied their fundamental rights, while corrupt government officials, corrupt teachers, corrupt medical officers, all of us, our hands steeped into the cookie jar, stealing the things that are needed to provide a good environment for our children like Balram. But they grow and they turn into these people that we are afraid of. Balram is an area boy whose cunningness led him into the bigger society. But what happens when he comes in contact with rich people? They suffered along with him, but eventually, as he talks to us about his life, we saw how the slumdog landlords came around and deprived his family of their rights, of their lands, of their properties. Like I said earlier, in Rewa today in India, we're still reeling from seeing women half buried because somebody insisted that the land that they leased should not be for them. In our villages here in Nigeria and all around Africa, I think in Kenya, women, old people are being branded witches so that their lands can be taken away from them, even by their family members. We know very well in our society that when you take away somebody's land, you've taken their right to personal development, even sustainable agriculture that they can feed themselves and their families with. But then again, like I promised, I'm just going to read excerpt because I don't even know what to tell you and what not to tell you. But first of all, before I forget, this book is so simply written. Like I said, it's a satire, and it is just something for you to dig yourself in. If you read further in the book, you see the case of the rooster coop, where poor people are subjugated to the extent where they do not even feel comfortable rising because they do not feel that they have any other hope, just staying where they have been pegged in. So I'm encouraging everyone to dig deeper into this book and find out some certain truths. And if you have a driver, there is a place where Balram describes his life as a driver, how he connives with the mechanics to make sure that they defraud you. And he says at some point that you find a mechanic that is going to support your ambition, and two of you will plan and tell your boss, Oga, this one has spots, we need to change hydraulic, my sister remember this, the hydraulic, contact, battery, all of this, they keep telling you that you have to replace. So those are some funny parts. The entire book is supposed to make you feel, empathize with this criminal to the extent where you know how culpable you are in not letting children or letting members of the society thrive. We know what we're going through in Nigeria at the moment, and it is a scary prospect because corruption has defrauded all of us of a certain kind of future. No matter the amount of money you have, one day, the streets will judge you. And I hope that when the streets will start its judgment, what are you going to say? Are you going to be guilty or not? But there is collateral damage when we don't do the right thing. Like I said, there's so many good parts to read in this book. I'm not going to talk too much about it, and because it's been published over 12 years now, so you can actually find it. You can order it online, or you can find it in a bookshop around you. So I will ask you to make out time and find this book somewhere and read it. I just gave you an intro into who Balram is, and I hope that when you read this book, you will speak up for the injustice. And if you're an employer, please try to treat your staff right. They are human beings just like you. The worst part of this book, and which is where this young man lost it, is where his employer's wife hit someone on the road. Because he's so poor, the family felt him disposable and decided to pin this crime on him. He was made to sign that he was guilty of a crime he did not commit, and at the end of the day, he was supposed to go to jail for this. Fortunately, he didn't. It was at that point, coming face to face with the fact that the loyalty he had placed in with this family meant nothing to them, and they were willing to throw him away, lock him up for a crime he did not commit. And when he chose to end the life of his boss, he did it without any sense of remorse. And he goes on to say, what if you were me? What would you do? It's my life for their life. So, like I said, I can't talk about this book too much. I love him so much that I have read all his 3 books. At some point, I'm going to share the other one. So you can see I'm a fan. He has 3 books, and I have 2 here already. So we'll take a short break, and when we come back, I have this poem that is almost similar to this, but it is Nigerian written. Thank you. See you shortly.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Okay, welcome back to the Literary Bar. I hope you were drinking along with me. I've just been talking and talking and talking. Do you know that I want you to come here to the studio and sit next to me? So if you're an author, if you have a book that you really like, this is an open invitation. Please join me here. Nothing will give me greater pleasure than to have you here. So now, let's come home to one of the most brilliant minds that we have the privilege of calling our own, Augustus Taiwo Tai-Solarin. He was a Nigerian educator, a social critic, and a philanthropist. he established the famous Mayflower School, Ikenne. Tai Solarin was born on the 20th of August 1922, and he passed away on the 27th of July in 1994. So this is an honor of his 30th memorial anniversary. I'm going to share this poem with you, May Your Road Be Rough. But before I give you excerpts, I want to give you a little backstory. My teacher in secondary school, Mr. George Igelegbai, made us read this long poem because someone had taken umbrage at the sentiments expressed by Tai Solarin in the poem. This poem was originally published 60 years ago on the 1st of January 1964 as a New Year message. But a lot of the people did not pause to read and understand it beyond the first sentence. Now with the hardship that we're all experiencing, I dare to share these wise words filled with subliminal messages to encourage us all. It's a really long poem, but I'll read some excerpts and I hope you'll check it out online and read it thoroughly. May your road be rough. I'm not cursing you. I am wishing you what I wish myself every year. I therefore repeat, may you have a hard time this year. May there be plenty of troubles for you this year. If you're not sure what you should say back, why not just say, same to you. I ask for no more. Our successes are conditioned by the amount of risk we are ready to take. The big fish is never caught in shallow waters. You have to go into the open sea for it. The biggest businessmen make decisions with lightning speed and carry them out with equal celerity. They do not dare delay or dally. Time would pass them by if they did. The biggest successes are preceded by the greatest of heart burnings. You should read the stories of the bumper pilots of the World War II. The Russian pilot, the German pilot, and the American or the British pilot suffered exactly the same physical and mental tension the night before a raid on enemy territory. There were no alternative routes for those who genuinely believed in the victory of their side. You cannot make omelets without breaking eggs throughout the world. Where there is no pain without pain. Jawaharlal Nehru has put it so well. I am paraphrasing him. He wants to meet his troubles in a frontal attack. He wants to see himself thrust into the aperture between the two horns of the bull. Being there, he determines he is going to win, and therefore, such a fight requires all his faculties. When my sisters and I were young, we slept on our small mats round our mother. She always woke up at 6 a.m. She always said prayers on our behalf, but always ended with something like this: may we not enter into any dangers or get into any difficulties today. It took me 30 years to dislodge the cankerworm in our mother's sentiments. I found by hard experience that all that is noble and laudable was to be achieved only through difficulties and trials and tears and dangers. There is no other road. Life, if it's going to be abundant, must have plenty of hills and vales. It must have plenty of sunshine and rough weather. It must be packed with days of danger and apprehension. If therefore you're out this new year, 1964, so let me say 2024, to win any target you have to set for yourself. Please accept my prayers and your elixir. May your road be rough. Initially, we did not understand, because the moment he said, may your road be rough, all our danders were up. And I can imagine what the Christians amongst us will say. Everything, all the prayers we have is always off. Oh, goodness and mercy will follow you. Let everything be sweet. But we know that the reality is that even a baby that is born today must walk. Before it walks, will fall down several times. If the baby keeps falling, would we say, do not walk? So I'm just saying, with all the turmoil and hardship that we're going through, that things will certainly get better. And it's going to take you and I to make things better for ourselves. 60 years ago, Tai Solarin wrote this. And throughout his life, for as much as I remember him, he was a man who stood for the poor people. He always fought for us in Nigeria. His sentiments were that you must never neglect the poor, but at the same time, he's encouraging us to work hard. Things are not easy. Things are not likely going to be easy all through our lives, but we must look back and say that, what is my contribution? What is my contribution? I know that we're all up against what the government, the corruption, the injustice, but when we look at ourselves, how much are we willing to invest in the work that's been given to us? A lot of people do not feel like doing the right things. They are not ready to work hard. If you look at the people, Olympics is just around the corner. But if you see what the athletes have to go through to win those medals, which you all come together to hail them, it's because their road was rough. If you ask our parents, the money they have in spending, in taking care of us while we were in school, they worked really hard. You ask the farmer knows how it is to toil hard before they bring out the tubers of yam and bags of pepper and tomato. So we know that things are not easy, but all I'm asking you and I is that we introduce some creativity and innovation in how we're living our lives. Don't let's take the easy road in trying to achieve excellence. Excellence comes with sweat, hard work, but the opportunities are there. So I'm asking all of us, while we're going through this hardship, we should not forget our humanity. And it's not only the government. We are the people that make the government. So I dare say to you watching, may your road be rough, because I know that it's only going to get better. After the rough sails, the sea is certainly going to get smoother, and then you'll be able to fish and get the things that you really need. So please, my brothers, my sisters, may your road be rough, because it's going to get better. And wish me the same thing, okay? Someday, when the story of our time here is written, what will your character be like? All through the centuries, with millions of characters that have lived on earth, a few names have abided over the centuries for fame or infamy. The likes of Nelson Mandela, the likes of Awolowo, the likes of Zeke, all of them have been names of people who have stayed here and contributed to mankind. And I hope that your own name will be written amongst the good guys who try to make life a lot easier for us. Thank you for staying with me. I have enjoyed our time together. So please send in your ideas, send in your book picks, and then most of all, I look forward to having you here with me. So for more, please follow us on Facebook, on X, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. You can watch us on DSTV channel 408 and on YouTube. So until next time, make your life a great story. I'm Chinedu.
Spirituals, gospels, and blues informed Alvin Ailey's dance movements. Ailey was raised in poverty by a single mother in segregated Texas. His upbringing informed his choreography, a blend of modern dance and ballet, speaking to the Black experience. Using archival footage, filmmaker Jamila Wignot explores the influences behind Ailey's creative genius in her documentary, Ailey.
I really wanted to come at it in the way that Mr. Ailey came at it, and that was about, let's acknowledge that there is pain and struggle in this story, but let's also look at what are the essential things that keep us going, and where are the strengths, and what is true to the everyday experiences of being in this particular community.
Identity was a strong message. Being able to say through the choreography, I am, was a very, very important theme that ran through the dances.
Wignot explains how Alvin Ailey's dance creation, entitled Revelations, expressed the communal joy Black people felt through dancing the night away and worshiping at church the morning after.
He wanted for every kind of audience to be able to come to a theater and experience a human story in the bodies of these people. And I think that's when Mr. Ailey talks about his work being universal.
His dance, entitled Cry, was dedicated to his mother and to motherhood at large.
The Black women who would encourage you, who would be there always, who were so supportive, I mean, that you could not fail.
What he's really trying to access and draw upon are these kind of women who have been the strength of a community, and certainly in his own life, being raised by a single mother for the vast majority of his youth.
Wignot hopes the documentary offers insight into Ailey's inner psyche as a prolific choreographer of 72 dance works, as an aloof individual, and as a gay African-American who did not allow himself into permanent relationships.
He has this kind of heroic quality to him, as well as these real human struggles.
Penelope Pulu, VOA News, Washington.
Good morning, you're welcome to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. My name is Rome Paulson. It's Monday, the 29th of July, 2024. In some countries, it's known as National Manufacturing Week. So having to put, those things into play, having to manufacture amazing goods, having to, just look for products that helps revenue. That's what people are celebrating, Manufacturing Week. Anyways, on today's breakfast show, we have a lot in store for you. We'll be talking about the protests, safety and security concerns for protesters, and the IGP has issued guidelines. Much later on the show, we'll be discussing the World Hepatitis Day 2024, and we'll be addressing the global health issues. We'll also be taking global stories making headlines in our national dailies, as well as some top trending stories. But first, let's check out our quote of the day. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. And that is why Henry Ford is the founder of Ford Motor Company. He was an American entrepreneur and an engineer. Of course, that was how he founded the Ford Motor Company. But this morning, he's telling us obstacles are those frightful things you see
when you take your eyes off the goal. So the important thing is to always focus. Do not take your eyes off the goal. When you take your eyes off the goals, there's so many distractions that could just sway you out, and then you forget what you were even trying to do in the first place. If you're always going to fixate on the things that are going wrong, then you'll never see the things that are going right. You would never be able to accomplish those goals. So this morning, as it's Mindset Monday, we're just trying to let you know that you need to focus. You need to have your eyes on the prize, on your goal. Forget about everything that is happening around you. And even if they are happening, all you have to do is ensure that you turn them over so you can accomplish those goals. So if you're doing something wrong and it just poses as a challenge or as an obstacle, all you have to do is look for a better way to do it again so you can finally accomplish those goals. So obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. But if you put your eyes on the prize, if you ensure that your focus is on that goal, you will just get everything that you want. All right, that's it for our quote of the day. We'll move over to some top trending stories. The first one says, Serap sues CBN over unaccounted 100 billion naira dirty notes. Serap has filed a lawsuit against the CBN over the failure to account for 100 billion naira in dirty and bad notes and other large sums of cash held by the CBN since 2017. The suit also demands an explanation for missing funds, including 7.2 billion naira intended for the CBN Duse branch construction and 4.8 billion naira for the renovation of the Abeokuta branch. Serap seeks details on outstanding loans, including 1.2 billion naira granted to Enugu State in 2015 and 1.9 billion naira granted to Anambra State between 2015 and 2016. The lawsuit argues that transparency in accounting for these funds is crucial for public trust and aligns with legal obligations under Nigerian and international anti-corruption standards. Serap emphasizes that these allegations reflect significant violation of public trust and statutory responsibilities, urging the courts to enforce accountability and recover any missing funds. I remember having a conversation with Kolawole Oluwadare, who was the deputy director, or rather who he is the deputy director for Serap. And, you know, we had an extensive conversation on this, and something that he really highlighted was transparency and accountability. And that is what Serap and so many other CSOs are doing, ensuring that we bring these people, we let them know that we need them to be accountable. If we're not going to demand for what is rightfully ours, then they will just keep playing us or keep doing whatever they want to do, knowing that we really do not care. But when we let them know that we care, of course, we need to demand what is rightfully ours. And that's one thing Serap is trying to do. They've written to them, they've asked them to, you know, bring out the books, let us know how you spent the money, account for it. And I know something I asked him at that time was, what if nobody responds? What if the government doesn't respond? And of course, they said we're going to take legal action, and this is where we are now. Now, I don't know what the court is going to do. Of course, they've written to them, and I'm just hoping that, well, the Nigerian government will just surprise us and say, you know what, this is how we spent the money. And if we're saying that we're trying to fight corruption, and there is no way we can fight corruption without accountability. When you're accountable, you know that people are really looking at you, people are looking at what you're doing, and so you would not want to steal money, you would not want to be corrupt, you would not want to turn a blind eye even when someone else is being corrupt. It is important that we're able to build that trust. There is a trust deficit between the Nigerian people and the Nigerian government. And what better way to start to build the trust than having to be accountable, especially when it comes to things like this. If we're asking for 100 billion naira in bad notes, where did that money go to? And it's so funny that even when you still go to the bank, you still see bad notes there. So if you're saying we took out all of that money, then why can't you account for it? I think it's as simple as just saying, this is what we use the money for. You're seeing renovations of several branches. How was the money spent? You cannot say, oh, I am a leader and I'm not willing to be accountable. No, that is just, you're just trying to be an like you're just trying to, you know, just use your authority in ways that benefit you or ways that pleases you. But if you're leading people, you need to carry them along. And in carrying them along, you have to be transparent. You have to be accountable. Those are certain qualities. You have to have integrity, because integrity is even what makes you accountable and transparent in the first place. Those are certain qualities a leader must have. And we're expecting that the Nigerian government would also possess these qualities. Because why do we have people who are not willing to be accountable in any way, in any shape, in any form, and they just want us to be quiet? No, we are demanding for these things. We want to know it, and I'm hoping that, you know, the court will uphold the law, because of course it is a law. You need to let us know what you use this monies for. So hopefully we'll get to find out more of that much later as the story progresses. Another top trending story this morning says desperate homes, businesses bypass meters in massive electricity theft. Rising electricity tariffs in Nigeria are driving many households and businesses to use illicit methods and to manage their utility bills. In Lagos, businesses like fabric shops are reported to bypass their prepaid meters by connecting directly to power sources, resulting in substantial cost savings but significant revenue losses for the electricity providers. Some individuals openly discuss meter bypassing and negotiate with officials to resolve issues or avoid penalties, often resorting to bribery. An investigation revealed the process of illegally tapping into power, including hiring electricians to modify connections and bypass meters. Residents using illegal connections are often aware of the risk, but feel compelled by high tariffs to avoid official billing. Routine inspections by electricity providers sometimes fail to detect these illegal connections if residents are cautious and manipulate their setups. The issue of energy theft is prevalent, with significant losses for utility companies and persistent efforts by officials to combat the problem. First, theft is a wrong thing. It is illegal to actually steal. But, you know, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. You have a high tariff, something that used to be about 68 naira per kilowatt, especially for band A customers, which I am one of. So let me talk about myself. You have a tariff that was about 68 naira, and then it's been moved up to over 200 naira per kilowatt. That is almost about 300% increase on your electricity tariff. And so, of course, you cannot use electricity the way you used to. If you were having maybe 2 or 3 ACs, you probably have to just turn on one when it's necessary, which I understand that. I understand the need to look at your consumption and only consume what you need at the time. But as of right now, when we look at the makeup of Nigeria's economy as a whole, and we know that there isn't a lot of funds coming in, businesses are struggling, people are struggling. People can even barely put food on their table. Talk more about buy electricity that would maybe cool them or make sure that their fridges and freezers are turned on. And so they cannot, you know, have this luxury of electricity the way they would love to. So, of course, there's always going to be that loophole where they would want to have theft, right? They want to steal electricity because they're like, you know what, I cannot afford it. Nigeria is as difficult as it can be. I'm still trying to keep my head above water. I have so many bills, so many things to do. I have children to feed, their school fees are there, I have house rent to pay, and so it's just electricity. Let me just ensure that this part is sorted out. Like I said, I am not going to say it is a good thing. I am not going to stand for it. Theft is theft, so it is bad, it is illegal, and you shouldn't be doing that. But my point here is, this is why the government needs to understand that if you do not give people the welfare they want, they will take it away from you. So now utility companies are losing money just because your tariff is high. And I know that they're saying, oh, we need to remove the subsidy because we need that revenue when we don't even have enough money. I understand that, but other countries, they subsidize several things for the citizens. So what is Nigeria what is the Nigerian government subsidizing for Nigerians? If you're not subsidizing food, if you're not subsidizing food, rather, if you're not subsidizing food, you should be subsidizing healthcare. If you're not doing that, education. If you're not doing that, electricity. If you're not doing that, fuel. which obviously the subsidy has been taken away. So there's several things that you need to understand when it comes to the welfare of the people, and you need to give that to them. Now, like I said, theft is theft. It is not a good thing, but you have to ensure that you're giving the people the welfare that they need, so that they're not even driven to have to steal in the first place. Look at businesses. A lot of businesses are shutting down because of the cost of doing business. The business environment is not even good enough. The economy is not great. It's not flourishing. It's not sustainable. People don't have enough money to go and patronize these businesses. And that's why most of them are shutting down. So many manufacturing companies, so many international companies are leaving. A lot of multinationals, and I think it's on one of our papers, a lot of multinationals are leaving the country right now because the cost of business, it is so expensive, and you don't even have people with enough money, with that, that spending power to just say, you know what, I want to go out and I want to buy this. We don't have that anymore. Now everybody has to calculate their bills, and of course, electricity is one of those bills, and sometimes people just find their way. But my point here is, let me just circle back to ensuring that you're giving your people a good welfare package. And if that's from electricity, why not? Just do something to ensure that you're not driving people to theft. All right, so our final top trending story. Well, this one talks about the protest. It says, warn your children against protest. And that is from Folashade Tinubu Ojo. Folashade Tinubu Ojo, the daughter of President Bola Tinubu and Iyaloja General of Lagos State, has urged Lagos market women to prevent their children from joining the planned August 1st hunger protest. In a viral video, she argued the Lagos State government has made progress and should be supported, while calling for patience with the federal government. Tinubu Ojo emphasized that protests in Lagos are counterproductive and potentially destructive, recalling previous damages caused by similar actions. She stressed that the new federal government should be given time to demonstrate its effectiveness before facing criticism. President Bola Tinubu has also engaged with various stakeholders to discourage participation in the upcoming nationwide protests, which are driven by economic difficulties and rising food prices. I know it's easy to come out and say, oh, do not participate in this protest, but when we're talking about hunger, when we're talking about economic difficulties, when we're talking about so many things that are just wrong, of course you can't tell people how to express themselves. If you're saying do not allow your children to participate, those children, they also go to the markets. I mean, my brother was telling me yesterday, and he was just talking about how a policeman was talking about the protest, and the policeman was like, you know what, I can't even say so much because I am also here as well. I also go to the market. I also have bills to pay. So it's not for a select few. We're all going through this together, and we just want the government to do something about it. I know that most people will argue, okay, give them more time, but the current administration has been here for over a year. And I think at some point, when you're transparent enough to let people know your plans, then they can be patient with you. You can't say, give us more time, be more patient. For how long? How long are we going to be patient for? That's the question. But if you let us know that, okay, these are our plans, these are the initiatives we're rolling out, and the next 6 months we'll be doing this, and the next 1 year we'll be doing this, and the next 2 years, this is where we're going to be. This is how we want to make Nigeria a progressive nation. Then people can rally around you and support you and say, you know what, let's all do this together. But every single day, food prices are rising like no man's business. Every single day. Let's talk about housing. Housing is so expensive right now. That's why you're seeing people living under the bridges. People are living on the streets. So many children are out of school because parents cannot afford to pay their fees. They have to eat first, and we're still talking about food that is a basic necessity that people do not have. So there are so many things that are happening. And people just want to voice out, express themselves, express what's going on. And hopefully the government would listen. I know that, you know, there are other ways. Like I have always said here, I am not one for protests. I do not like protests. It's just a lot. And there's also the fear of it being hijacked. And so that's why I'm like, no, protest is not for me. I do not like it. But you cannot beat a baby and tell the baby not to cry. You should still allow people to be able to express themselves. Or you could have just averted all of this in the first place and do what is right by the Nigerian people. I know that someone has always said is the citizen, the office of the citizen is the highest office in the land, and that is what democracy is all about. So you need to listen to the citizens. If they say this is what we want, you have to give them what they want and what you think will make Nigeria progressive. So with this August 1st protest, I'm hoping that it doesn't, you know, the government will do something. Of course, now we're saying that the president is already having talks with stakeholders. So I'm hoping that, you know, there would be an address. There would be something, just something to help people to make them feel loved, to make them feel cared for, to make them feel heard. So hopefully that happens, and then the protests, you know, the organizers just say, you know what, let's give the government more time, then we can do that. But the crux of the matter, the main thing is to ensure that you give the Nigerian people what they want. I don't think we're asking for too much. Nigerians are super resilient. In any condition they find themselves, they will still make headway. They will still be happy. They will still try as much as possible to be good. But if we're asking for the basic amenities or the basic necessities of life, we just expect you to give us that. I'm talking about food security. I'm talking about infrastructure. I'm talking about development. I'm talking about healthcare. I'm talking about education. There's so many things. But let's start to fix Nigeria one piece after another. Somebody was telling me yesterday, a cab driver, and he said, since I was little, all we've been doing is roads, building and fixing roads. Why are we not doing any other thing? Why are we not having more developments in Nigeria? Insecurity is ridiculous right now. It is almost like a thriving business for terrorists. Why are we not tackling that? So I think the Nigerian government really needs to look at what we need and start to do the right thing for the Nigerian people. And hopefully one day we'll get there and we'll say this has just been a thing of the past and Nigeria is better right now. All right, that's it for our top trending stories. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll be reviewing the papers. Please stay with us. First on Plus TV Africa. It's time to take global stories making headlines in our national dailies. And joining us to review the papers this morning is Professor Kamilu Sani Fage. He's from the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, joining us from Kano. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, so we'll be starting with the Punch this morning, and it talks about hardship protests. It says US, UK, Canada issue security alerts, traders fear looting. The writer here says foreign missions foresee violence as federal government OB differ on protest sponsors. Now, this is also on other papers as well. On The Guardian, it says protests, OB names sponsors as CPPE warns of 400 billion naira daily loss to the economy. And on The Business NG, still talks about the protests. It says Tinubu begs, Wike pleads, sends messages to Nigerian youth on protests. So let's talk about this protest. A lot of people have, you know, come out to express their displeasure with the current administration. But aside people saying, you know what, we would need to have this protest, the federal government or the government on the other hand, you know, has been saying a lot about the protests. In fact, the IGP now has, you know, issued certain guidelines. So many politicians have said, no, do not go out to protest. A lot of people have called for patience, like the Oba of Benin has said we should give the government, you know, more time. The Yaloja, who happens to be the president's daughter, has even told the market women not to allow their kids to participate, talking about how everything might just go haywire. So we're looking at this and also seeing that the US, the UK and Canada have started to issue security alerts, and some traders are, they fear looting right now. Can you just walk me through the potential, like the dangers of this protest? I know that people want to express themselves, but what are some things to really look out for when it comes to the protest?
You see, on one hand, it's true that protest is constitutionally recognized as one means by which people will express their own views to the leaders. But, you know, it should be peaceful. But the problem is that this one that is about to take place in Nigeria. We don't know whether it will take place or not, but we have barely 4 days to the deadline. Is coming at the wake of what happens in Kenya. You know, the protest in Kenya started peaceful, but somehow it went haywire, and it ended up in violence because, one, the way the government tried to handle it. So that is what sparked the whole process. So that is why here in Nigeria, given what happened like in the past, like the EndSARS protests, and the fact that the police and the security agencies are giving serious warning on the issue, and the reluctance of the government to dialogue with, you know, the possible protesters. One is fearful that perhaps even if it started peacefully, some hoodlums might hijack it, especially given the fact that there is high-level poverty in Nigeria, there is high-level prostration and hopelessness among the youth. So some people might hijack it. So that is why there is this worries in so many quarters that probably if it happens, there is a potential that some people will hijack the peaceful process.
So I understand that, you know, there are several concerns, especially when it comes to hijacking the protest. But at this point, shouldn't the government be having conversations now, or the president even addressing us, letting us know that he hears us, he understands our plight, understands everything that we're going through, and things will be better? You know, that form of encouragement, that form of care from the president, who happens to be the leader of the nation, shouldn't that be happening by now to be able to avert this protest, especially when, you know, we're not sure that it's going to go as peaceful as we want it to be?
Yeah, you see, even if it is going to be peaceful, that is what a democratic government is all about. A democratic government is supposed to have two things. One, it has to be responsive, and two, it has to be responsible. So these are the things that leadership should have shown. They have to be responsive to the people, like in a situation where we have these things, and the notice has been out for how many weeks, and yet the government, instead of addressing the problem, you know, one, keep on denying it, two, keep on using all means to prostrate it. You know, getting people, getting opinion makers, religious leaders, and other things to, you know, talk against it, using threats somewhere, and in other places blaming, you know, other people. So all this shows that there is a possibility that the strike will take place because the government has not been responsive to the situation. And truly, well, that is what is expected of a democratic leader. For long, this could have been abated had it been the government responded. And, they have to know that they are democratic leaders, and they have to know that there is this problem in the country. So people expect that the government should have done something. Anyway, it is not too late. We still have about 4 days to go. I think within these 4 days, the government can head up the protests by showing, true attempt to, address the problem. But if they keep on denying, if they keep on blaming game, and nobody hears from the leader, I think we are increasing the probability of the protest to take place.
Something that also might just be increasing the probability is another headline here that says fuel rises to 1,300 naira per litre as depots run dry. On the Business NG, it says Nigerians lament as fuel crisis deepens. NNPC blames vessel hitch for fuel scarcity. So looking at this now, this was one product that was about 180 something naira to 300 and something to 500 and something in some areas, 700, 800. Now it's as high as 1,300. I only wonder how people are going to do business, how people are going to transport themselves to and fro work. There's just a lot, because this is an essential commodity. But what do you think is going to happen now, especially seeing that fuel has risen this much, and this is even in the same week where the protest has been scheduled for as well?
You see, this will just add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Already there is a tension, and the country is tensed. We have just, like I said, 4 days to the time, and then within this period, there is fuel scarcity. Like yesterday here in Kano, most of the fuel stations are locked up, and those that are open, the few that are open, the price is so high. And this thing come, like I said, the heel of this protest, and it come up, also the heel of what happened like last week. We had a report